Folks, welcome to your weekend. Welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good with your pal Ryan. That's me. This is going to be a Real Housewives of Orange County reunion part one recap, and I'm sure we will go on so many detours with our time spent here together. How is everybody doing? What a week, huh? What a week in Bravo alone. uh, Listen, we put out a lot of episodes this week. And I know a lot of people probably aren't listening to podcasts right now or watching on YouTube. I know we got our people out there. A lot of people are. So, hey, welcome. But I just wanted to talk to all the people that might be catching up with this a week down the line, 2 weeks, a year down the line. Hi, how are you? How is the future? But I'm just glad you're here regardless. This train keeps on a chugging. I look a little worse for wear. My God, if you're watching this on YouTube, I look like I have Michael Richards Kramer hair. Listen, can you imagine? I don't really have a hair care routine. So this is how it looks. It's just very poofy. Very poofy. And I feel like that's a good metaphor. That's not, I don't even think what a metaphor is, but for Orange County. Just, my hair has just exploded, just like Orange County has exploded by the end of the season. Now, what you got to pay attention to with Orange County is not even just the reunions in the season. You got to look at this as the off season, right? Like we also just went through, I don't know if you heard about this, the elections, which don't worry, not a political podcast, but we just went through the elections, a lot of campaigning that we saw on both parties. And now it feels like the Real Housewives of Orange County ladies, ever since the season wrap filming, I feel like a lot of these ladies are out there campaigning to keep their job, to get asked back, to stay there. You got to really pay attention to what these women are doing, not behind the scenes, but like out in their life. And like they're doing public events or being seen with certain other cast members. And I think for the audience, and by the way, like I always say at the beginning of these episodes now, if you are a housewife, do not listen to this show. You are bound to get your feelings hurt at some point, and that is not what I'm trying to do. This is what we like to overuse the word safe space. This is a safe space. This is a safe space where we can talk about our shows. But you have to really, I'm so curious about when you get photos with other cast members or other people that are looking to be asked back. And the Bravo audience, and I'm just speaking, I guess, for myself, but I think I'm similar to a lot of the Bravo audience, is that we pay attention to these things now. It's like social media is so out of control, but it's not just the show anymore. Like we always say, it's the show and then the social media behind the show. And even in this episode of the reunion, it's like the fucking Real Housewives of Orange County Detective Agency. I mean, we got people pulling out court reports from years ago. I mean, all of these people saying like, oh, I don't like people digging. It's all the people that are digging. How do you not like digging? You are digging. You are literally digging. It's like I was talking about with the Salt Lake City reunion yesterday, which I think is some of my silliest work. So truly, I really showed my full idiocy on that recap. So if you're looking for a laugh, go check that out. But it's this, I don't want to fight about podcasts. I don't want to fight about, I want to fight about what's going on in the here and now. And that's why, even though Alexis, Bellino, and Johnny J, far from my favorites, and I'm talking far from my favorites, you have to have necessary villains, right? You have to have that. But at least I appreciated that the Shannon Beador storyline, there was something happening right there in that moment. She was having to deal with Fun Lexi. She was having to deal with her ex Johnny J. Like that was something in the here and now and not something that was filed in a police report a decade prior. And I appreciate the immediacy of that because I think if we're to still believe that these shows are about human interaction, holding a mirror up to society, all of that stuff, and the immediacy between these female relationships, you want things that are happening in the here and now. Also, I've thought about this, especially since yesterday's recap with Salt Lake. And I excuse the reunions for this because I know you have to do this because we're talking about things that have happened in the past. But on regular season episodes, we've got to limit these production companies to the usage of flashbacks. We are now seeing flashbacks on flashbacks on flashbacks. Like we'll go into a flashback and then they'll flashback within that flashback. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's getting out of control. How many of you, like, I don't even have a great memory, and my memory, I can remember everything that they flash back to. I don't need to have my hand held like that. I mean, we are a sophisticated audience. Do not talk down, do not flash back down to us like this. My God. But we'll get into everything today because I do want to get into some of the social media behavior of the Orange County ladies in the off season. I have said this, and I know some people. I was on Jeff Lewis this week, and he asked me who do I think should be asked back because Vicki Gunvalson was on the hour before me, and she made, I don't want Tamra back. She said, I don't know what Heather's doing there. Get rid of Alexis. She was like cutting people right and left. For me personally, and feel free to drop it in the comments or let us know what you think. But I'm good with having everybody back. Now, the thing in the reunion, what you're looking to see is what relationships can be repaired. What relationships can be repaired? Like, can Tamra give an effective apology to Shannon Beador where Shannon Beador once again believes it? And I will say, Tamra is one of the best to do it in terms of you might not like her, but the people that are in the cast with her, she is able to make them believe. The only one it didn't seem to work on, and that's why I think she is kind of this rising star, is Jenn Pedranti. Jenn Pedranti had, oh my God, I keep looking at my flipping hair. I got to put on my Coto insurance hat to so I don't get caught. There's a Velcro strap. That's what you're hearing. I didn't fart. I swear to God. Okay, now I've got my Coto hat on. Jenn Pedranti seemed to be on to Tamra's game or Tamra's personality. And I really appreciated that about Jenn Pedranti, right? But Shannon Beador falls for Tamra every time. Like, Tamra must be so charming in person. It's not the same, but I think there's a similar magic to Jax Taylor, where if you watch Vanderpump Rules, people bought into his line of bullshit again and again and again. And it would be like, I'm a work in progress. I don't know why I do these things. I love people. And I remember asking, who was it? I think it was Janet or somebody. I remember asking, how, like, is he just the most charming person in the world where he keeps giving you examples and you keep just like, oh, just forgiving him completely, which I do think life should be about forgiveness. But when it comes to reality TV, I think we're playing by a couple of different rules, right? So I think Tamra has a very similar aesthetic to Jax in the sense that they are very charming. And when they talk to you face to face, you really want to believe them. You really, and it's a compliment. Like, when I was talking to Jax Taylor on that Us Weekly red carpet a month ago, we had a really good conversation, and he does know what the things to say. He does, and you find yourself rooting for those people when you talk to them face to face. When you are in reality, in real life with one of these people, you're like, oh, amazing. When I got to meet Katie Janela and Jenn Pedranti at Jeff Lewis, I was already a fan of them from this season, but it was great to be there with them in person. And I don't know. I used to think I was a good judge of character, but who knows? I mean, we can all be fooled and all of this stuff. I just think, especially with the Katie stuff, I'm like, to what end? To what end? Like, I predicted, and I was right, that Heather Dubrow was going to come down really hard on Katie in the first episode. But it wasn't only Heather Dubrow, it was Emily Simpson. Emily, I'm a lawyer Simpson. Now, Emily or Shane, if you are listening, Emily, storyline next season, just go back to practicing law. It feels like you got the itch. I would love to see you do it. I know you're helping like innocence projects and things like that, and working with people coming out of prisons, but just go. I felt like this reunion also should have, like, it shouldn't have been like the screen of the OC in the back. We should have just fucking had a green screen with like a courtroom. We should have just, and it should have just been like a jury table, defense table, prosecution. Andy could have been in the judge's seat. But why are we even messing around with like a beautiful green screen of like an OC beach? Let's just put it in a court, because that's what we're doing here. We are now like having an open court case about this season, and they went hard on Katie. And there's a lot of mystery there, but you always life is so full of gray, right? It's never black and white. There's so much gray and in between. And I think these reality shows, they do a great job of is they want you to think black and white. They want you to be like, ah, and like, oh no, but there's so much gray. There's so much. And I just find it so interesting how, like, if you sign up for these shows now, please, I hope you're listening to this episode before you do, because you need to be aware. Yeah, you might make more money and you might be some sort of pseudo celebrity for a minute, but it can either go really good or it can go really bad. And as Heather Dubrow said, if you have hinky things in your past, just know that they will all be found out. They will all be brought up. And there's a good chance it might not even be explained in the accurate way that it happened. You might end up looking like a bad guy, even if in the situation you were wronged. Does that make sense? So you've just got to be aware of so many things. Like Jenn Pedranti, right? Like we got into the Ryan Boyajian stuff, her fiance in this. And, you know, it's said once again that Ryan is in the clear, but, you know, I love Jenn Pedranti, and I think Ryan seems like a fun hang. Like he really does seem like a fun guy. Something did go down. Something just did go down. And, you know, we had Emily D. Simpson, the legal analyst, on Friday or yesterday, and we walked through this a little bit more. And, you know, you don't just get off the hook. You don't just be like, well, all good, bud. Like something had to have happened. They, you know, obviously it said in this episode that Ryan participated with the feds, and I think it was even mentioned that he went to them before they went to him. Who knows the reality of that situation? Also, I mean, it's not the Real House Husbands of the OC, it's the Real Housewives of the OC. So the interesting thing, or the scary thing, or the thing that we have to be empathetic about, and I think what Emily seems very concerned with, is we've got to watch Jenn and how she is moving through this, because this is somebody that obviously has had a huge upheaval in her life. Her life has changed so much through the process of these last couple of years, even before the show, that you just gotta, and she seems very concerned about how she will be painted or how Ryan's situation will paint her. And so that's why I just wish they had kept rolling if they just didn't put down cameras, because I feel like it lets that tension out of the bubble, right? And then these housewives are now scrambling, or it feels like they're scrambling to be like, am I going to get asked back? Are the contracts there? But I'm not a producer on these shows, but I can already give you 20 storylines right now that I would pursue if I was a producer on Real Housewives of Orange County. Alex Baskin, if you're listening, holler at me, my boy. Let's do this. Ryan Bailey, season 19. Co-EP, let's do this. But we've got a lot to work with. We've got Tamra saying she's in therapy. We've got Heather Dubrow. I mean, Heather Dubrow's storyline now should just be, why do you even want to be doing this? And Heather, you're not listening, but if you were, I'm just going to beg you to stop saying hinky. Stop saying hinky. There's something hinky going on. It's twofold. One, I hate it. And two, I've now started saying it in my everyday life. So I guess that's kind of me liking it, but I don't want to like it. So stop saying it. I don't know where you picked up the word hinky from, but you got to stop using it. Season 19 needs to be a hinky-free season, and it needs to be a minimal flashback season. Let's assume that we all know where the F we are at this point. You in the jungle, baby. You in the OC, baby. You gonna die. And the quiet woman, man. What a victory in the OC this week, huh? Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Oh God, how are? By the way, I just launched into this, but how are you? Are you guys holding up? I was thinking about this last night because we went over to one of my best friend's houses, and it was his wife, who I'm friends with, her birthday, and she's just an amazing woman. Shout out Heather, and they have two beautiful kids. And then his sister, Jess, who I'm really good friends with, and her husband, Matt, I officiated their wedding. They have a new child this past year. Shout out Bodie. And they were all there. And it was, you know, right now, all of us are feeling so emotional in so many ways. Some of you guys are feeling really happy. And then a lot of us are feeling really sad, right? And there is just a wave of emotions. Like it really has been very hard for me to podcast this week. It's been good when I get up to the mic and I can just put myself into it. But it's really hard to step up to the mic, like even harder than usual. And I realize how flippin' ridiculous that is to say that it's just a microphone. It's just a podcast, but it's hard. It's what I do. Right. And I want to always try to provide you with like a silly laugh. Like I always say, we might make a point here and there, but I want to provide some sort of pure escapism. But I also want to acknowledge where we're at and what we're going through right now. And I got to tell you, I don't really go out a lot anymore, but I went to a concert on Thursday night. I went to our buddies last night. And then tonight I'm going to another concert with my buddy Matt, who's in town, and a bunch of other friends. And I'm exhausted. But it's so funny. Like now I have to like condition myself to like going out like 3 nights in a row. I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. Oh God, I would hate to be a housewife and have to like film for like 4 months and have to go to event after event. That just sounds exhausting. I don't have enough clothes in my wardrobe for that. I can only wear that one fucking cardigan sweater too much. And by the way, this is usually a family show. We always love to listen as a family, but I'm going to curse a lot. I have a hankering or for cursing. It's a little hinky. So it was so nice to watch kids run around and cry and scream and giggle and it was so nice. And those things right now, whether it be this podcast to escape from or whether it be, and you're hearing so much of this shit, and I don't know the right answers for any of it, but I will tell you what I'm finding. Even if I don't want to go initially, I'm always glad I did hang out with friends. It was so nice to have a link to your past because I've known these people now for God, oh my God, is it nearing 30? No, 25 years? I mean, like, but it's just so great to have people that feel like family. Because family is family, but friends are family as well. And you can really choose your friends, and it's really, really amazing. And Housewives, obviously, you can kind of disassociate with that. So that's been nice. And then we started watching the other night, The Penguin on Max. Now, The Penguin, Colin Farrell, it's a Batman spinoff of the movie. And I know that's nothing Housewives related, but sometimes it's good to get into a genre that's completely different than what I watch 24/7. And we got into it, and I was saving it up for a rainy day to binge. And I'm so happy I did. And we're a couple of episodes in and I'm busy. Like I would love to be spending today just watching The Penguin, but I get to talk to you guys instead, which, that's even Stevens. But that has been really good. It's great to escape to a whole nother universe. So I don't know, maybe like watch like a space thriller, a horror movie, anything to do whatever it takes. Go outside, take a walk. I mean, all of these things are going to sound horrible until you do them. And, we just are responsible for putting one foot in front of the other. And hopefully people are checking in on you. And if not, I'm checking in on you. How are you? I'm not going to say we got this. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say, hey, we are going to go through whatever happens together. I mean, listen, this is where and Alex Baskin, once again, if you're listening, I'm so bummed that we don't have a new season of Vanderpump Rules filming. Come on. That's when we needed it the most. But go back and watch season 2 of Vanderpump Rules. We're covering it on the Patreon. I got to do the second episode tomorrow for the Patreon. Oh, and get this, you guys. I will be talking to Miss Sheena Shea on Monday. I will be on Shenanigans, and she seems like she's up to some shenanigans because her and Jax Taylor are now in a war of words based on something Sheena said in last week's podcast about him hanging out with Randall at his son's school. And Jax like kind of released this statement, and Sheena texted me this one. I said, are we allowed to talk about this on Monday? And she was like, I just saw that. Yeah. So listen, when I'm on shenanigans, I like to just call it shenanigans, but it's shenanigans. I am going to be a fan like you guys are. I got questions. I want to talk. I mean, I got things I want to ask Sheena, and I know it's her podcast, but I cannot wait to get in there and find out what the heck is going on. And I did an interview with JC Chazé from NSYNC this week, which I think is going to air on Tuesday. And there is a Sheena connection in that I think we'll probably talk about on Shenanigans as well. But just to tease that out, that's exciting. But we got some really good escapist podcasts next week. I have this author, Rob Sheffield. He's been a writer for Rolling Stone for, God, decades now, it feels like. And I'm a huge fan of his writing. He's also written some amazing books. Love is a Mixtape, Talking to Girls About Duran Duran, On Bowie, a book about David Bowie, a book about the Beatles. And now his new book, which comes out this next week, is called Heartbreak is the National Anthem. And it's about Taylor Swift. And he's a huge Taylor Swift fan. And Rob Sheffield, I just think his writing is brilliant. He's up there with like Chuck Klosterman for me in terms of pop culture and music writing. If you know Chuck Klosterman, go dig into him if you have not already. Start with Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. That was a book, I think, from like 23 years ago, but it still holds up. But I got to talk with him this past week, and I can't wait for you to hear this interview because it's just, I mean, it's two dumb bitches saying, yes, queen, in regards to how much we love Taylor Swift. Even though what I found fascinating about Taylor, is there's so much failure in her life as well. I mean, she's fairly dominant now, obviously, but there have been so many failures through her life that I wasn't even aware of until I read this book. So we got to geek out. We did this interview this past Monday before the election, because I was still pretty happy. And it was like it was like one of those things, you guys. Ah, man, I love geeking out. Don't you love geeking out so hard? Just like when you're fully geeking out. And that's the kind of thing that I want to bathe in, is just love of books and movies and music and TV and dance. I don't know why I threw dance in there, but yeah, I want to dance. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff for you to listen to next week as well to tease that out. But subscribe. Like I said, I know probably podcast downloads are down right now because we're all just kind of coping, but I love to be something that is here for you whenever you're ready. So welcome. Oh God, I just love going off on rants, not rants, but just talking to you guys. It really does do the heart good before we get into this mess of a first part of a reunion. Poor Andy Cohen, man. This guy, I mean, do you ever wonder what Andy's cholesterol level is and like his vitals? I've gotten to a lot of doctor's appointments this last year, and I'm like, I'd love to see his blood work. I'd love to see his cholesterol. I want to know if he's getting his AG1s or what, all the little, is he taking his fish oils? How's his heart? Like, I mean, I would love, they did this at what show did they do this on Netflix? Wait, was it the Love is Blind, where they hooked somebody up to a heart monitor? Wait, what show was it? Love is Blind? They hooked somebody up to a heart monitor. I see. Maybe I just dreamt this, but I wish, like, if we want to like take these reunions into the future, we need to hook up all of these ladies and Andy Cohen to a heart monitor throughout the reunion. And then we have heart monitor stats at the bottom of the screen. So when like Katie's like being like talked down to by Heather Hinkie Dubrow, we can see where Katie's heart rate is. Or when Andy just is hearing ladies like just yell, 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 I want to see where his heart's at. And at this point, my prediction is Andy's heart is probably strong and steady when like the women are fighting. I bet he's so used to it. I bet he's so comfortable with it that he could take a nap, while these ladies are screaming at each other. I bet he is calm, cool, and collected. But maybe I'm not. Maybe he's just a basket case, and he just projects really, really well that he is a calm driving influence. The one last thing I will say about the election, the one thing that keeps surprising me, but it also surprises me across the board. We were just talking about the Bravo ratings yesterday on our Salt Lake recap, and everything is down. Everything is down this year in terms of ratings. And then I was reading, we got 20 million less voters this year than we did in 2020. Isn't that insane? And that's nothing to do with like Republican, Democrat, but I'm just like, isn't that bizarre? 20 million less votes. And it's like, it's the same kind of shocking to me as when I look at Bravo ratings and I see that they're down across the board. And you're like, you didn't vote or you didn't watch Salt Lake. And I know that's ridiculous to compare the two, but man, how did we go? How are we going down across the board? We're not participating in voting or watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and the OC. We are better than that. So yeah, that's the other platform I'm running on in 2028 is to vote, but also watch Bravo. Vote, watch Bravo. Those are two. Now, last night we got home from our friend's place and I was exhausted. I mean, man, you guys with kids out there, how do you do it? The amount of energy and the that you expend, and you're just watching these kids wondering, like, I don't even know, like, you're worried about making the wrong move. You're like trying to talk to them about cool stuff just to potentially implant it in their brain, you know, like, hey, do you like the Beatles? You know, you're like, when is it too early to get a kid turned on to like good taste? But we got home and then I watched our favorite Friday night show is Love After Lockup on WeTV, and it is just straight up trash. But it didn't hit the same way it usually does for me last night. You know, usually I laugh, I'm shocked every Friday night, and then last night it just didn't do what I wanted it to do for me. And I don't know why, but yeah, Love After Lockup on WeTV. I recommended it to our friends, and they try to get into it, and they're like, we just couldn't do it. But I guess it's an acquired taste, which so am I. I'm used to being acquired taste. There are a couple of things I've learned in my life from doing this, and it's one is that you don't have to like me for me to like you. That's one. Yeah, that's a big one. Two, not everybody is going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to like the things that you like, which I kind of like. And that, you know, I grew up feeling like an outsider. I grew up feeling unpopular, uncool. And I'm used to that. So I kind of like if I'm an outlier in a lot of cases. Or I don't know if liked is the word. I'm comfortable with being an outlier. And I don't personally love fighting in my real life, but I do love watching it on TV. And I think we can all agree with that, right? Keep the drama on the TV. And so that's why it's weird, to my point earlier about when it spins off into social media and what we're paying attention to in their actual lives after cameras wrapped. It's like they're still always on camera. They're always on camera. Everything is content now. And so these housewives never legitimately have a day off unless they choose to pull themselves out of the running. Like last night, Katie Janela, I saw, was at Heather McDonald Juicy Scoop. I think she did a live show, and I saw Johnny J, Alexis, Bellino, and Katie there. And I think Heather, I saw this on Threads, maybe, which, by the way, I'm enjoying Threads. Twitter, a little too much for me right now, but I'm over on Threads. If anybody wants to follow me there, it's just the same silly nonsense. But I think I saw a picture of Heather with Katie and Alexis Bellino. And in the background, you saw Johnny J, like just watching over the whole scene. And I would just say, like, and then I saw photos of afterwards of them all out at dinner. And I don't know, like that kind of confused me in a sense because I really love Katie's relationship with Jenn Pedranti. And I think Katie, if you're listening, I think that's the future that the audience wants for you. There's great strength in that, and you're providing strength for each other. And now the reaching across the aisle to Alexis, because I feel like Alexis in a lot of ways is really angling and wants to be back on the series. Now, Shannon Beador has come out and said, I do not want that. And I did go on record last week saying it's really dangerous when a housewife starts making any kind of demands, you know, because the show is always going to be the number one, you know, like nothing is above the show. No one person is above the show. And you can make that example of like, what about Ariana? Yeah, what about Ariana? Ariana still filmed with Tom, made her thoughts clear, you know, like made her thoughts known, but still filmed with Tom. And I think Shannon saying, you know, well, I'm not going to film with her, I'm not going to do this. It's a really hard thing when housewives are about these women gladiators, or that's what it's turned into. But I was kind of surprised to see Katie with Alexis and John at the after party or the dinner afterwards. And I'm not sure if Jenn Pedranti was there as well, but you got to really be careful of who you're seeing around with, because listen, it's a couple of thoughts that go through my head is that what is the reality of their situations? And there's always maybe some truth or some gray in the fact that what they're presenting on screen isn't necessarily the reality of their real lives. Like, I think a lot of us want them to really, like, if you're going to come at these people on screen, you better damn well believe it, and you better hold true to it in your real life. Now, Katie and Jenn did reach out to Alexis throughout the season. We had that one scene where they were over at Alexis's house where Alexis threw them out when she found out she wasn't coming on the London trip. So there is that relationship there. But if I was if I was a marketer, a test marketer, and I was like asking people, what do you think about Katie and Jenn's relationship? You know, 10 is high and 1 is low. I think a lot of people would go like 8 or 9. And you would say, hey, what about Katie and Jenn and Alexis? I think it would rank so much lower. But then in my head, it's like, that's why I say about out campaigning? Are you out there being around these people, A, showing, look, we are friends in real life, and B, look what you could, this is what you could get next season. And hopefully having Shannon Beador or one of her people see it so you can kind of already start creating some kind of tension, some kind of drama. So I always wonder about it in cases like this. And I think Katie truly wants to be on next season. And I think she deserves to be on next season. I think she got a beating on this first episode. And it's just like Jen Pedranti, though. Remember Jen Pedranti, sweet, sweet, sweet. And then finally she had that breaking point with Tamra in this season's episode in London, and everybody was just blown away. And I think Katie will eventually have one of those moments. Because Katie right now, when Katie's under fire, she's very demure, very mindful, a lot of it almost feels peaceful in a sense. And I think that truly annoys Heather and other people because she seems to keep things under wrap. I do think we are going to work towards an explosion from Katie in her second season. And I hope when that happens, that she is as well spoken as Jen Pedranti was when she exploded on Tamra, if that makes sense. We're just thinking about the future. We're talking shop. We're spitballing here, folks. What do you guys want to see in the second season? Listen, thank you for just letting me rant right here before we even get into the recap, because I have a lot of thoughts, and frankly, I don't want to let you go. I don't want to get back to my real life right now. Also recommendation. I was like looking for new music today to listen to. I love the band The Cure. Don't listen to their new album yet, because the first two songs, depressing as hell. And usually I love depressing, not the week for depressing. So stay away from The Cure's new album. If you want some like kind of light, easy stuff, I've been like on an Elvis Presley kick lately, and that's been nice. LCD Sound System, I've been under them. Counting Crows I can't do right now, but Counting Crows, another one of my favorite bands. And coming up in December, that's when I love to play A Long December by Counting Crows every day in December. We used to do 31 days of A Long December back when we first started this account. And it was a joy because back in the day, before podcasting and anything existed, I would bum out and I would play A Long December, and I would drive in the hills of California during the month of December, and I would blast that song, because in the song, it's like, talking about like driving in the hills, and I'd be like, I'm in the hills. I'm in California. I think I should see the ocean soon. And I think A Long December is a holiday song. So, but there's a lot of sad Counting Crows stuff, but there's a lot of good if you look for it. There's a lot of things that can elevate your mood. And I think synthesizers are good when you're sad. Any kind of synth is always a fun, upbeat thing to get you going. Wow. Really? What a detour. What a detour. Okay. You know what? We did it. We'll talk about all this other stuff too, because I want to talk about Gina Kirschenheiter's Instagram faux pas today, which she came on and explained what happened and why she did it. And I kind of agree with Gina in this. So remember, we're going to have fun. We're going to be stupid. We're going to make some points. If you're a housewife, don't listen. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And remember, if you're listening, you're already at the promised land. You're a housewife. Don't concern yourself with what anybody says on a podcast, right? But this, housewives, are they gone? Are they gone? This is for us. This is for us. Let's have fun. Let's scream, yell, laugh, all the stuff. And we're going to get through this first part together as a baddie family. Okay, so we start off as we always do. You got to pay attention to the episode, the title, right? And the description that the cable company gives us. I'm watching on the Peacock streaming app, and Peacock, this is uncensored, which means you get to hear all the dirty curse words, which is very exciting. When you get to hear curse words on a cable television show, it takes me back to when I'm 13 years old, and I'm like, oh my God, they just said the F word. This is crazy. This is The Real Housewives of Orange County, season 18, episode 18, Reunion Part 1 Uncensored. And if we're to, the title always gives us clues, and the clues that this is giving me is that this is the reunion. Okay, so that's what we get from that title. So nice, very clever. Okay, I got it. And then the show description that they give us to go say, hey, do we want to watch this? This is the description. Shannon and Tamara's conflicting version of events Heather confronts Katie. Very simple. Very simple. So we start off. We see the Bravo logo, and we hear Andy's voice as we always do. Tonight, a 3-part Real Housewives of Orange County reunion begins. So we know what we're here for, right? And we see all of the ladies kind of arriving on set. Now remember, they recorded this on a Sunday. Usually they don't do this on a Sunday, the reunions. Usually it'll be during the week or even a Saturday, but a Sunday is interesting. And they did something a little different. Usually we'll see Andy going into the ladies' trailers and having conversations of like, Shannon, how's your bowels today? Are you scared to see Tamra? You'll have a little bit more, but they kind of rushed that part of it. I thought we would see a little bit more. So we see 4 ladies in 4 separate boxes arriving: Gina, Heather, Jenn, Pedranti, and Tamra. And Gina going, I'm ready as I'll ever be. I had a big week in real estate. Oh, my power rankings. I got to tell you, I love Gina this season. I've said it. And this is where I realize that we're all different, because I've heard some really negative things about Gina this season. And I thought she had a really good season. I can't wait to see where she goes next season. We'll do the power rankings later, but I think she's had a fantastic season. Tamra says it's going to be an amazing day. And then we see 3 other boxes. We see Emily go into her trailer, Katie going into her trailer, and Shannon going into her trailer. Shannon, by the way, looks like she's wearing a Kyle Richards Kimosabi hat. It looks like one of the members of Mumford and Sons. So she walks in, and Shannon immediately goes, good morning. I think it was her trying to do an Irish accent or an English accent. She loves accent work. She's the Daniel Day-Lewis of Real Housewives. So we already see that. And then we cut to Andy on the stage saying, it's so wild to do this on a Sunday. And Tamra says, it's the Lord's Day, so there will be no fighting. And Heather laughs. And Jenn says, that would be nice. And Gina goes, oh, we'll all go up in flames, which is a really great. If the 3rd part of the OC reunion, God does come down and says, holy fuck, I don't know how I could have been more clear about this. Sunday truly is the Lord's Day. I'm up there in heaven, got tons of shit going on. We're in an election year. And then all of a sudden I have to hear you housewives are fighting on my day. Show me a little respect. And then just everything blows up in flames. It would be amazing if Andy was like, we do have a special guest today, God, and Archie Beador. Archie, come on out. God, you're right after Archie. So this is like they're cutting kind of back and forth in this first part from them on stage to them behind the scenes. We see little clips of what we're going to see these next 3 seasons. Shannon Beador yelling, how many times did you practice in front of the mirror, Alexis Bellino? There's the door, Shannon Beador, when there was no door. Shannon, I've been saying this all season long. Thank God it's gotten to you. There's the door, Shannon Beador. Which then just reminds me of Kate Winslet and Titanic when they were on that door. I've said this every fucking year on this show. There was enough space for Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet on that door. And even if you said there wasn't, they could have at least tried. But that's what it reminds me of. But I said, it seemed like Alexis practiced that line. I don't know if Johnny J gave that to her, if one of her friends gave that to her, if a producer gave that to her, but it never made sense. And also, there's the door, Shannon Beador. And then Alexis Bellino in the first episode of this season, she's the one that then walks away. Like, there's the door, Shannon Beador. You then wait for Shannon Beador to walk away. You don't then use the door yourself. No. We then cut to the trailer with Katie Janela talking to Andy Cohen. And Katie says, this is unknown, uncharted territory. This is her first reunion. And Andy's like, he doesn't have his sports jacket on yet. He's just kind of looking at her. And I looked like the night before this reunion, Andy Cohen was at there was like this kind of fancy fast food festival that BJ Novak throws. And I believe John Mayer was there. He was there. I was going to go to this thing, but my dad and my nephew were in town when they shot the reunion. So that's where he was the night before. And part of me wonders, he probably went to the bungalows afterwards. I do think, and I amuse myself with thoughts of, is Andy hungover during reunions? Because, like, does he have a hard... This is why I want to interview Andy Cohen one day, just to ask stupid questions like, Do you have a hard and fast rule after 18 seasons of doing an OC reunion that you're like, okay, I can't get drunk. I can smoke a little weed or take an edible, but I cannot get drunk the night before? Because imagine nursing a hangover and then having to listen to Tamra go, that's my opinion. You would just want to explode. Then we go to Heather Dubrow in one of the episodes of the reunion. Heather Dubrow goes, so we're fake ass bitches who suck dick? Another great t-shirt for my t-shirt collection. Fake ass bitches who suck dick. And Gina goes, no. And then we cut to 3 boxes outside of these ladies' trailer. We see Jenn Pedranti, Shannon Beador, and Heather Dubrow walking out of their trailers. They're in full glam. They all look very pretty. And Shannon has her hands in her dress pocket, and she's doing a weird thing with her tongue, like rubbing it over the top of her lips and like doing a weird stroll. And then we see Gina and we see Katie walk out, and then we cut to inside the stage, and Andy Cohen is making this like kind of like reverse Zoinks face. Ugh. And we hear Gina going, my kids are scared and I don't know what to do. My kids are scared and I don't know what to do, which this isn't in this episode. So I imagine it's in second or third. And what I imagine that's referring to is the situation with Travis and his ex. That's what I imagine that is. Unless she's talking about the kids being scared of Heather Dubrow, like Emily's kids. Hey-o! And then we have Katie Janela saying, I had nothing to do with him going to jail. And Heather Dubrow going, that's not how the police tell the story. Then we cut to all of the ladies starting to walk on the stage. We hear a stage manager over the mic go, all right, we are speeding. And then we cut to another scene that we'll see in the future where Jenn Pedranti says, the money is not Ryan's. And Emily goes, you always do this Tammy Wynette thing where you got to stand by your man. And Tamra has this face of like, oh, Emily, I have taught you well. And then Jenn Pedranti fires back with, I've read your in-laws fund your whole life. And Emily's face just goes, ugh. We hear the mic go on 5, 4. And then we cut to Tamra in a scene saying, when everyone tells you you're dead, it's time to lie down. And Gina's face goes, ugh. 3 to the jib, 2. And then we see Alexis Bellino's face and Shannon Beador yelling, I took your job 10 years ago. I'm still sitting here. I'm still standing better than I ever did. Farting like a little child, wearing double Spanx. I'm still standing after all this time. 10 seasons on OC, I'm losing my damn mind. I'm still standing. Shannon, I'm still standing. Fuck Lexi. And Gina, after hearing Shannon say this, Gina goes, oh, Grease Lightning. Oh, God, I don't know, man. I think you watch these shows so much, you just start, there's something happens chemically where I'm just fascinated with Gina. And I know everybody might not be there with me, but I love her, man. I love these little facial reactions. She's like, oh, I came to play. We also see her with a sugar-free Red Bull. So maybe those reactions are a little more hyped than they usually are. I don't know. Is sugar-free Red Bull at a reunion for Housewives considered performance-enhancing drugs? Like, are any of these? They should make these Housewives raw dog a reunion. And by raw dog a reunion, I mean no drink, no pills, no caffeine, no glam. I want sweatpants reunion. I want none of you people look good. You guys look really bad. Oh, wouldn't you love a glam-free Housewives reunion where everybody's just in sweats? You know, like, oh, did you get those on Amazon? Wild. Oh, also, Maritza, if you're listening to this, is there a way to flip the image? Because I hate my face when I have to do this in this app StreamYard and you have to look at yourself the entire time. I try not to. But the way the camera image flips it, you know, like a camera does, it always is the crooked. My face is kind of crooked, you know, I just have to accept that. But I like it when it's reversed the other way. It looks more normal. I hate it this way. Yeah, I'm being a diva. Call me Barbara Ryan Streisand because I don't love. Okay, so we have Gina going zoinks and Tamra making a face, and then Shannon waving bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. Um, then we get into it finally, and Andy Cohen does his normal welcome everybody to the Real Housewives of Orange County season 18 reunion. All the housewives are smiling. Everybody's in a relatively good mood so far. And at this point, too, I also wish Peacock would add an extra feature where you just give us the unedited day. Give us all 8 hours. Give us all 9 hours. The in-between stuff is always the good stuff. Like, the in-between stuff is what, had them kind of looking at each other or talking about the last segment. That's the kind of stuff, as I get more into this, that I'm really curious about. I'm Andy Cohen. We are high atop the hills of Orange County, or at least pretending we are. And Katie laughs. Also, another great location if we just did it like the set of The Quiet Woman. Andy says, and congratulations are in order. Your season marked the 100th season of the Real Housewives franchise. And Shannon goes, wow. And Andy goes, wow. And everybody goes, wow. I go, wow. It's 100 seasons of Real Housewives. And has anybody done the math? I would love to know how many fights have there been in 100 seasons? Like how many, because there's got to be 100 seasons. 20, they used to do more episodes per season, 23. I mean, just ballpark guess. I'm guessing 1 million fights throughout these 100 seasons, but everybody's excited that it's 100 seasons. And Andy says, mazel to that. And let's get started. Hi, Tamra. And Tamra goes, hi, Andy. Last I saw you were on Instagram with a very swollen face. And Tamra goes, yes. And then, we skip to what looks like one of the orcs in Lord of the Rings. Listen, I mean, the only we can make fun of this because Tamra knew what she was doing. She posted all of this on her social media. And like I said at the time when we were talking about it, don't worry, because in 2 weeks, she's going to be back and looking better than ever. That's what this process is. So I think she almost enjoyed everybody being shocked and whoa, I think she liked it. Remember, bad press is still press. So I think she did enjoy some of this, and she came out looking better, and she knew she would, right? Anyways, we have this shot pop up on screen, and it's Tamra going, this is by far the ugliest day of them all. And Andy says, what happened? And what happened, as Lisa Barlow would say, and are you happy with results? And Tamra says, so I had a CO2 laser with a blue peel and a brow lift. And then we had a nuclear grade reactor just shotgun my face. No, she had CO2 laser with a blue peel and a brow lift, whatever that means. And there's a shot of Shannon reacting of interesting. And Tamara goes, and yeah, I'm happy. It was a process, but it was only a week and a half. And Andy goes, okay, of being swollen and ugly. And Andy goes, well, you look great. And she does. And then Andy goes, hi, Emily, how are you? And Emily says, according to jurisdiction 0.351, I am doing, no, she says, hi, Andy. And he goes, still working out 7 days a week? And Emily's like, no, you know what? I've lessened it a little. I'm not as obsessed. And then he says, does Shane join you in the gym? And we all of a sudden have a split screen of Emily and Shane in the gym while Emily says, I hired a personal trainer for him, and now he works out weekly with him. So I got 1 time a week. I feel like that's, and we see Shane running on a treadmill. And when I'm watching this footage, all I hear is the Rocky theme, like dun 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 dun. Shane is Rocky. He's running. By the way, running faster than I could run at this point. I have knee problems, and I would love if next season Emily's storyline is training Shane for a bodybuilding competition, like Tamra did that one season, or Teresa did that one season. Couldn't you have loved if Emily's just rubbing down Shane in body lotion, like body glitter for his like bodybuilding competition. I would love that. But congrats to Shane. I mean, also, why isn't Eddie training Shane? I mean, Tamara's Eddie could train Shane. And listen, I mean, Teddy's going through that divorce now, and Eddie and the Eds, they had that podcast with Teddy's wife and Tamara's husband, Teddy's husband and Tamara's husband. And I'm guessing that's probably not going to go on any longer. What if we brought Shane in there and we still called it the Eds with Shane or Eddie and Shane or Shane? Anyways, why isn't Eddie training Shane? I guess that's a question there. But isn't it funny too to think about like those old seasons where Tamara was bodybuilding? She was doing that competition, or even the season when Tamara got super religious and got baptized. Like, can we check back in with like past storylines with Housewives? Like, where are we religiously right now? Where are we physically right now? But Shane, he's up there. And Andy goes, that's nice. That's nice. Hey, Heather, Andy says, what's happening construction-wise on the new home? And Heather goes, oh my God, it's a disaster. And everybody laughs. Oh, you're so rich. Yeah. You know how you and I always talk about our construction things, Andy? You know how we always talk as two rich people talking about construction things? How it's like twice the time, twice the budget. We're sort of in that land. And Andy goes, wow. But all right out of the gate, you already like, this is the thing with Heather is that you are just confronted with massive wealth, which is something that we like to see on Housewives, right? But I think there is such a wealth imbalance with Heather and the rest of the ladies. And it's just like I keep saying, it's one of those questions that I keep thinking about is like, what's in it for Heather at this point? My thing is obviously her charity work, her family. So I think that's good visibility for the things that she believes in. But is it worth all of this shit to like see you thrown by being accused of a paparazzi photo? Is the benefit outweigh? I mean, does the benefit outweigh the bad stuff? I'm guessing it still does to Heather. I just don't know why she needs to or wants to play in these reindeer games. I feel like it sometimes can lessen her when we see her thrown by things that I just can't understand why she's being thrown by. And then Andy goes, speaking of real estate, hey, Gina. Hi, Andy. Speaking of real estate, I like that. Selling the OC with Gina. And Andy says, how's business for you? Well, it's been wonderful, actually, Andy. I have to say we're really getting some traction. And we see like Instagram video of Gina putting a sold sign up on a property that says Travis Mullen, her dude, and Gina Kirschenheiter. And it says sold. And she goes, I just closed on a house last week. I have another deal closing Monday. And then he goes, that's great. That's great. And yeah, it is great. I want Gina on Selling the OC. I say that I want Gina to fucking get rich as a pig in shit. I want Gina rich. I want Gina richer than Heather Dubrow. I truly hope she becomes the best-selling real estate agent in the OC, because wouldn't that be such an amazing arc of Casita Gina to fuck you money, Gina? Like, God, I'm literally praying for that. Yeah, I waste my prayers on things like that. I want to see Gina have money where she's like, I don't need your private jet, Heather Dubrow. I'll say what I want. And I'll never sell your properties, even though you're begging me to, because I'm the most powerful in the OC. And then Andy says, hi, Katie. Welcome to your first reunion. And Katie goes, hi. You ready for today? And she goes, I think so. On the other corner, we see Emily and Heather like getting their legal documents ready. And Andy goes, did Sutton offer you any advice? And Katie says, no, we didn't talk in a couple weeks, so no. Now, I feel like that's a very telling question from Andy, because we know Heather brings up Sutton later in this episode, and that's how we kind of met Katie. It was like kind of one of Sutton's friends on top of one of Gina's friends. Now, listen, the reality of that reality is these shows are casted in a lot of ways. There's very thin connecting dots between a lot of these ladies anymore. So we saw Sutton at one point, come up this season of like, I wouldn't cross Heather Dubrow. I say she uses big words like hinky. Oh, no, thank you. So this is very telling that Andy brings Sutton up right out of the gate, right? So there's something there, and Andy knows it. So Andy moves on. All right. Hey, Jenn. Hi. Congratulations on your engagement. Thank you. When is the wedding? Andy says. So we're talking next June. And so just guys, just let's pause real quick. Let's free up our calendars for next June. I'm hoping we all get an invite. This is going to be great. So let's clear our calendars. And Andy says, any of the ladies here will be receiving an invite. And Jen goes, oh my gosh, I would love to have the ladies. Of course. Okay, Jen, don't lie right out of the gates. How would you love to have any of these ladies? These are pro wrestlers in your wrestling show. Anyways, we see Tamra have this kind of like reaction of like, what's going on? And Tamara then makes a face of like, like I would be getting a wedding invite. Come on. By the way, Jenn Pedranti looks gorgeous. It seems like her body's glittering a little bit. And then Andy says, finally, hello, Shannon storms Beador. Shannon, the very end, gets the last, how are you doing? What power? What style? What grace? And Shannon goes, hello, Andy. She has the tiny Shannon voice on, because Shannon can go, hi. And then she can go, hello, Andy. Hello. How are you? I'm good. I'm good, Andy. I'm good. You look happy and healthy today. Thank you. I am. And Andy says, how is the dating world? Well, I hadn't gone out on a date for a year, but I just did go out on dates. And Andy says, you might be blushing right now. I probably am. And all the girls are like, oh my God. Did you do the hippity dippity, Shannon? Woo. God. Shannon's like, I do F on the first date. Yeah. But Shannon like puts her hand up to her face. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. And Andy goes, wow, that's great. Look, ladies, this has been such a dramatic season. I'm curious if we could set some intentions. Tamara, it was interesting to hear what your intention for tonight was. I would love for Shannon to hear what you told me. Well, Andy, I told you that she's a drunk, an alcoholic. No. Tamara goes, yeah, I want to talk about why I was hurt by what went down. And I hope that we can get to a common ground. We don't have to be best friends, but I don't want it to be uncomfortable and I don't want it to be toxic. Okay, there we are, folks. Already the olive branch being thrown out by Tamra, realizing how unpopular her decisions were throughout the season. So immediately out of the gates. So this is a Tamra classic. This is really, so already throws it out at the very beginning, right? So she's already in that good spot of like, listen, I want things to be better. Are you kidding me? I'm all about peace. Now, a good time to explain your actions would have been amazing throughout the season, but we're here potentially explaining it now. So I'm excited to hear what she says. Andy says, Tamara, you mentioned to me that you're starting therapy this week. And Andy goes, oh, thank you. Like, I can't believe you revealed that, Andy. And Andy goes, well, I mean, I think it's interesting. I want to know, what are your goals with your therapist? And Tamara goes, to find out where that anger stems from. Okay, well, now this is a week before she went to therapy, and we all know what happened after therapy. Tamra found out that she was on the spectrum and then found out she wasn't on the spectrum. So, I mean, if we had only filmed this reunion the week after this therapy, this 2-hour therapy session, we would have had a whole different reunion. But just, it's like this, the prequel to Tamra going on and saying, hey, Teddy, guess what I found out? I'm on the spectrum. Like, that was, I mean, just think about all the storylines that have happened since the reunion, right? But Andy says, okay, how do you take that, Shannon? And Shannon goes, I mean, the way I was treated by you this season is unacceptable. You attacked me, and I really don't have an interest in being friends with you. And Tamara goes, okay. So so Shannon storms the door, holding strong. Olive branch thrown out by Tamara. Shannon holding strong, right? But we know Shannon holds strong, but can the Shannon wall hold all three parts of the reunion? My prediction is not. My prediction is by the third episode, we're buddies. That's my prediction. Then Shannon goes, oh, because what I'm doing in my therapy, and she goes, therapy, I'm creating healthy boundaries. And a healthy boundary is not being in a toxic relationship. And then Tamara very calmly says, are you saying that our entire friendship was toxic? And Shannon very calmly says, absolutely. especially when you come back on the show. You came back on the show. We never got to the point of friendship that we were before. Because remember, Tamra was off the show for 2 seasons before coming back, right? And Tamra says, well, I thought we did. And Shannon, you can keep exaggerating on how close and how often we spent time together because we weren't that close. And Tamra calmly says, I thought we were close. And it's not about just spending time together, Tamra says. We would talk every single day. Andy says, Shannon, she's saying that she wants to try today to take that toxicity out of your relationship. This is when we need Andy's son, Ben, to come out and be like, you guys are poo-poo heads. You just kiss and make up. Anyways, Andy goes, okay, so we'll see. Andy like, hey, we can't get into this segment yet. We got to move on. And Tamara keeps going. She's like, so are you? And then Shannon goes, a lot of open wounds here. And she motions through her whole body. A lot of open wounds everywhere. And then Tamara goes, and me too, Shannon. Me too, Shannon. Me too. So Tamara now already trying to project a more empathetic Tamara than we saw this season. Now Tamara leaning into, I have felt hurt. I have been hurt by you, right? So really kind of this interesting switch up in a sense. And I do think Tamara is one of the best to do that. So I want to give her flowers, even though I know we're very angry at Tamara. You've got to also think about character archetypes and what they do and how they move story along. Now, a lot of people, you guys have disagreed saying, oh no, it's too toxic. We need Tamara off the show. Let's see how we feel by the third part of the reunion, right? Let's see how we feel. Because so far, Tamara has Jenn Pedranti now against her. Jenn Pedranti has seen through the matrix. We have Shannon not buying Tamara's BS. I think Emily still very much likes Tamara, and I think learns some. I don't know if Emily's always been that like this, but I think she's learned some bad habits from Tamara. I think it's emboldened her to a degree. Now, I think Emily could be the better version of Tamara. And by that, I mean, Emily can back it up with facts, sometimes too many facts, sometimes too much lawyering, right? But I think Emily could be the better version of Tamara. Now, also, I believe, doesn't Emily have a podcast on Tamara's podcasting network? I do wonder, just from a fan's perspective, is that hard for Emily? Shane, if you're listening, please let me know. Is that hard for Emily? Because you always have to be respectful of the people you work for. I'm not bullshitting. I'm not trying to, but like you do, like I've always been taught, be respectful to people that have hired you, try to do the best that you can for them, try not to make waves, even though they want you to make waves on podcasts, right? Because that generates clicks. So I do wonder if Emily ever goes, oh man, Tamara did not make it easy on me this season. Now I have to kind of defend her. But I think there's a part of Emily that likes the mess, because I think Emily is very strong in who she believes herself to be. I think she's strong in that belief. And when you're strong in that belief for yourself and you have some facts to back things up, I think it's just, you got to be careful of putting the pedal to the metal and going from 0 to 60 really quickly. You got to find more delicate ways of throwing some of this information out there, because when you're just throwing it, bam, 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 it's like an anvil, which is good. But I also think it's just one of those 2 left feet kind of things where I think it can be done more delicately, potentially. I don't know. That's just a thought right off the top. So let's see where the intentions are with these ladies. And Andy asks Jenn, and Jenn's like, well, a hope and intention that I have is really for Emily and I to set forward on a better path. And Emily goes, but I don't feel like there was a lot that happened. And I feel like you're very reserved with me. And I don't understand that. I don't know if that's you or if that's Ryan telling you that you should not be friendly with me. And maybe it's because I'm an attorney. I don't know. Our first mention of attorney in the reunion. And you know what? I think Emily answers her own question here. Like, yes, I think it is because you're an attorney. I think it is because she's paid attention to, social media and obviously you are trying to get to the truth of this. So I don't even think it's Ryan. I think Jenn also genuinely is like, you know what? I got to keep you probably a little at arm's length as well, because, after Tamara stormed out at Katie Janela's dinner party, you were calmly asking Ryan questions, which I think he kind of hung himself a little bit with the answers to those questions. So in reality, you do kind of step away from people, that if Jenn is going through something very real, yeah, like I don't need, there's not this real friendship there when you are trying to shed light on her partner, right? I don't even genuinely think that's right. I think Jenn genuinely believes this as well. And I think Emily, at the end of the day, Emily's had things with Jenn this season already. Remember at the traders party where kind of Emily had to explain her positioning on, wanting women to really work for what they have. And I know Emily was very concerned about Jenn not paying the rent on her property. That one dinner said, sell your broken Rolex. What are you thinking? And then at the end, kind of not did a 180, but said, oh, I've turned a corner on Ryan a little bit before the FBI, pickup cameras scene was like, no, he took your kids in and that's huge. So it's been a little all over the map, but I would imagine Jenn is very untrusting of this relationship. Right. And Jenn goes, no, Ryan will give me his opinion, but Ryan never tells me how to act or not react to somebody. Even if he did, I would still do what I want to do. And I felt the same way you felt, that there was something going on. And Emily goes, but there's not. And Andy goes, okay, well, we're going to figure it out. Emily gunning for Andy Cohen's spot at this reunion. Emily's prepared for the Andy Cohen chair. She is ready to produce content at this reunion. And Andy's like, no, we'll get there. We'll get there, Emily. I got it. And Emily's like, yeah, okay. And Andy goes, okay. Anyone else before I move on? And Katie goes, oh gosh, I want to own a couple things that I did that I regret and just move forward with that. Now, even before I'm watching the show as I talk to you guys about it. So if I was a producer, I'm not remembering if this is correctly, but if I was a producer, I would cut to a Heather Dubrow reaction right now. Let's see if I'm correct. Yep, we get Heather. And Andy says, Heather. And Heather goes, I hope to walk out of here with almost everyone as friends. Almost everyone. Very choice of words. And we see Katie's reaction, kind of like, oh boy, that was directed at me potentially. And Andy goes, all right. After making headlines for her DUI arrest just 10 days after last year's reunion. Yeah, I mean, think about that, guys. We talked about last year's reunion, and then 10 days later, the Shannon Beador driving her car into the house, leaving John Janssen's happened. And it was already a bad reunion for Shannon Beador. Remember Gina having to stand up for Shannon, going, what are you doing, Shannon? And Shannon, bad spot, right? So Andy says Shannon started the season under a microscope. As she vowed to work on herself, most of her friends were rooting for the Shannon reboot. But her ex-amiga, Tamra, felt like she was watching reruns of the same old show. Let's watch. And this is our first clip package. And we see scenes from various seasons. This first clip is Shannon Beador talking to Kelly Dodd, and Shannon going, the stupidest thing that could happen to anyone is getting a DUI in today's world. And then the Chiron pops up, September 17th, 2023. And we have a voiceover saying Shannon Beador drove her car into a home, and all of these headlines popping up. Real Housewives of Orange County star Shannon Beador arrested for Dewey, hit and run. Here's what we know. And then a clip of Emily this season saying, do you drink, Shannon? And we see Shannon's reaction box in the bottom left hand of the screen. And Shannon going, have I had a drink or two? Yeah. I don't do it that often. And then we see a clip at a restaurant scene where Shannon goes, Belvedere soda with a lemon, please. And then we see a scene of Tamra with her lightning bolt hat on. Shout out Tom Sandoval. Tamra saying, I'm so angry because I really thought this was going to be a wake-up call for Shannon, but instead she makes excuses. And then a scene with Shannon and Tamra from this season where Shannon says, you've been on this path for 10 years with me. And Tamra screams, everybody has. And Emily says, I think she's changed, Shannon. I'm sorry. And then another scene where Tamra is telling one of the ladies, do you not think she has an alcohol problem? And Heather goes, yeah, I do. And then a scene where Jen Pedranti is telling Tamra, You go hard, Tamra. And then Tamra going, you're a liar and you're a drunk. And then a scene where Shannon is talking to Tamra going, you've been doing nothing but defaming me. And Tamra gently saying, have I drove my car into a house? And Shannon going, oh, okay, I gotta walk away. I gotta walk away. Boundaries, therapy, boundaries, gotta walk away. Tamra in a voiceover saying, I am not going to enable Shannon because I'm that type of friend. Stop fucking drinking. Get help. Guys, you guys, the uncensored, you hear Tamra say fucking, and oh, goose pimples. Says, you got to stop drinking or I'm done with this relationship, Tamra says. Now we come back to the reunion and Shannon just calmly blinks her eyes. Tamra looks at the video monitors and Andy goes, okay, safe to say the two of you have not spoken since finale night. And Tamra goes, nah. And Shannon goes, what's going to be difficult about today is I am at a place where I don't feel like I have to keep defending myself. And Andy goes, okay, I'm okay. Shannon says, I don't use alcohol to cope. And Andy goes, what is your drinking like now versus what it was before? Oh, I would just keep going before. And I would drink because I didn't feel good inside. And it would make me forget all of that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, that is using alcohol to cope, right? Now, I would be curious, a follow-up question from Shannon of like, why do you drink now? And I would be curious her answer on that. Well, I drink for fun. I drink, it would probably lead up to the same thing of, where you'd be like, oh, that sounds like coping. But Shannon is saying, and listen, we are not here. We can't label somebody, right? We can give our opinions. Of course, we all want the best for Shannon, and we hope she does not fall into the same pattern again, because life can throw so many curveballs at you, right? So if there ever was a time for Shannon to be a wasteoid, I would think this season would have done it to her. So hopefully we can trust what Shannon is saying, that she has come out of this stronger with better coping skills, protecting her peace, because it sounds like that did lead her to drink in the past, right? But I don't know what makes an alcoholic, and I think there are all types of variations on this. So it really is in the eye of the beholder, and you just hope that like 10 days after the last reunion, nothing like this happens to Shannon again, right? So if Tamra had really come from that place of being concerned about that, because that is something to be concerned about, if she had used a different tone, if she had not just completely divorced herself from Shannon, we would be having a different conversation, because also it would have shown Tamra to show great strength in being empathetic towards a friend when that friend needed you the most, to not double down and go harder, scream things. Like if I screamed every episode on this podcast that Shannon Beador is an alcoholic, it might be funny to some of you. It might be realistic to some of you, but also some of you would say, dude, that's really uncalled for. And I think that's how a lot of us felt how Tamra handled the situation, right? It made her, Tamra, look very, very bad, right? Andy says, Heather Dubrow, you seem to agree with Tamra that Shannon had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. And Heather goes, I mean, when we heard about the DUI and we heard what your number was, and it was so high, and we see a clip from Reality Blurb says Shannon Beador's blood alcohol content was 3 times the legal limit. And Heather goes, and I mean, like Terry was saying, like as a doctor, like how high that was, it was very concerning. And someone that could like really be, and Gina goes, it got out of control. And Heather goes, somebody that could be awake at that blood alcohol level is someone that drinks a lot. And that's where I was coming from. Oh, yeah. By the way, you guys, if you go back into my Instagram account from like 4 years ago, I remember that one season where I literally had a photo of Shannon and John Janssen. And it was after that episode where Bronwyn, how many Bronwyns in the Bravo universe now? Bronwyn Wyndham Burke was getting married again to her dude at the time. Remember that? And John Janssen and Shannon went to the wedding. It was in Palm Springs, I think. And they kept going back to their room and filling up their glasses with, I think, vodka in the bathroom. Remember that? And they were shit canned. And I used to run a bar like you. And I made a meme and I was like, these two are professional drinkers. And what I mean by that is that they just inspire each other to drink, and they probably don't go, oh, we're out of control. But that it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I would say, oh, it's It's 4 o'clock somewhere. It's 3 o'clock somewhere. You could just imagine they would start drinking earlier and earlier in the day. And they both inspired the worst in each other. But I was like, I've seen couples like this. And that's why Johnny J and Shannon's relationship, it's a little bit hinky, as Heather Dubrow would say. And I think they are so much both better off not being in that relationship. Because when you're in a relationship where you just are inspired to keep drinking, and not even just keep up, but it becomes a way of life. There's nothing good that can come out of that. And it just shows you, like, leaving John Janssen's house 10 days after last year's reunion and driving into a house is just the capper to all of it. Just the final straw, the hitting rock bottom, not just in terms of the drinking, but in terms of her relationship with John Janssen, right? Andy says, Jeana, why do you have sympathy for Shannon after all the crap she talked about your DUI? This is a viewer question. And bringing your kids into the mix, because that's what Shannon did last season, right? She fled the scene of an accident, continues to drink. There's a shot of Tamara shaking her head like, yep. And all she can say is she's embarrassed. And Gina goes, well, I don't think that's all she said. I think she was actually pretty transparent about what she did and her remorse for what she did. And at the same point, I made the same mistake. Because remember, Gina had the DUI. That's what we saw that clip of Shannon talking about Gina's DUI, right? Which is just another great layer of Gina to extend forgiveness and kindness when she didn't have to, right? So Gina continues, once this happened, it gave Shannon a completely different perspective. And then she finally was willing to see it through my eyes. And I would be a fool then at that point to not embrace that. Emily says, I witnessed it. It was genuine. She was truly hurt. She was sobbing. And Gina goes, and it's hard for Tamra because she wasn't seeing that. She wasn't, because Tamra divorced herself from Shannon this season. And Tamra goes, I wasn't. But what I did see is, like, Shannon saw you at BravoCon after her DUI, Tamra says. We had a holiday lunch that Heather put together. She didn't apologize to you then, but she did apologize to you on camera. And Gina goes, yes, and maybe she wasn't there yet or whatever. But to be honest, I really wasn't even willing to look in your direction at that lunch because I was still pretty pissed. Yeah. And Shannon goes, yeah, no, I agree. And Shannon says, yeah, she posted a picture without me in it. And we see a picture of Gina, Emily, Tamra, and Heather, I think, from the BravoCon lunch, right? And Gina goes, yeah, I wasn't there yet. And Shannon goes, I wasn't there yet either, And Emily goes, it's a process. It's a process. And Gina goes, yeah, I mean, I'm not an angel, I think you're an angel. You're an angel to me, Gina. You're my angel this season. Oh God. I just had a creepy baritone voice there. But everybody, it takes time, right? I think the popular thought would be like when cameras go up, then your personality changes. Maybe, but then we still have that proof of when cameras go up, Tamara becomes a really vindictive person. So cameras can do weird things to situations, but in this spot, I believe Shannon too, because also when you are down and out, it does make you realize and wake up to a lot of your own behavior in life, and also realize how much you need other people. And when somebody extends you kindness that doesn't have to, man, that is a life preserver that 9 times out of 10 will make your life so much better. So I think Shannon, and we've got to really keep Shannon honest with this, owes Gina and Emily to a degree as well so much. And I hope she doesn't forget this in seasons to come. Gina really, really had Shannon's back in a way that none of these other ladies did. And I think Gina really saw things for what they were. Now, this isn't the real saints of Orange County. This is the real housewives. And by the way, somebody's life can be amazing one year and horrible the next. Life will throw you so many curveballs. And I guess what I'm learning in my old age is really how you interact with that curveball. And does it take you under? Does it make you a better person? Does it make you a worse person? Does it make you angry? Does it leave scars that you can't get off of your body? There are so many things. And that's why, as silly as sometimes we make this, there are real interactions here with real friends. And that's why people like Gina and Emily that have now been here past 5 seasons, they're they're a huge part of the DNA of Orange County right now. That's why I'm so glad we didn't get rid of Gina and Emily. Like I'm a part of it, but I'm glad that we didn't get rid of Gina and Emily, because when you invest in these ladies, it becomes more richer. There's real relationships that form, even if they're cast at first. Once you get them multiple season after multiple season, real relationships start to form. And I think that's what's exciting about these shows, is that you see this at this point. And then Emily says, can I say something? And then he's like, oh my God, again? Emily goes, I felt like the constant calling her an alcoholic was so counterproductive to what the outcome should be. You can't bully someone into not drinking. When you say that you need to get the help that you need, we have to let Shannon determine what that help is. She has to decide that. And then there's a split screen of Shannon up. We're almost Shannon defending herself, just like that Matt, Katie, Janella situation where Matt was saying something kind and Shannon took it completely different. You know, Shannon's like, look where I am today. Never been better. I've never been better. And Emily's like, no. Look where I am. Shannon, it's okay. It's okay. Because Emily's like, no, I'm never better. And Emily goes, but you're arguing with me, Shannon, and you don't have to argue with me. And then Jenn turns to her, you're doing amazing. You're doing amazing, sweetie. And then we go back to quiet voice Shannon. Thank you. I feel good. I feel that's the Spanx. I feel good. Very good. So Andy pops in with another viewer question and says, so Tamra, Christine from Queensland, Australia. Good day, mate. Why do you feel mocking and berating Shannon is going to make her stop drinking? And Tamra goes, yeah, no, looking back, obviously that just came from anger. And that was my one thing to go to, because I know that would upset her in that actual argument. And Shannon goes, you know what you did, Tamra? You said, I was there every single day after her DUI. No, you weren't. And Tamra goes, I was on the phone with you. Tamra, you were in Scotland. You left the day after my DUI. And we have a split screen. And then Tamra's Traitors character poster pops up on screen, because that's where Tamra was. She was filming The Traitors, which comes back, I think, January 6th on Peacock. Very excited, much needed right now. You're on The Traitors, Tamra. You're on The Traitors. So Tamra's saying, I was on the phone with you, and no, you were in Scotland. Are you kidding me? And Tamra goes, after I got back from Scotland, after. And Shannon goes, and I did get the help. I went to a place for 30 days. And you have the audacity at Gina's dinner to say, lie, 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 lie. And we have a split screen of Tamra screaming, lie, 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 lie at Gina's dinner, as Shannon is saying, lie, 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 lie. That's all you fucking do, Tamra says. And Tamra in the reunion says, because you called me drunk several times after that. That's why. Okay. But also fair. Fight fire with fire, potentially. But also, Tamra, I mean, you know, let's not rewrite history. Tamra does seem to drink a lot on these shows. I know she doesn't in her personal life. She's a big Vina CBDer. But on these shows and in that scene, she was tipsy. Tamra says, one time, Shannon, you called me drunk and you went off like a crazy woman and then called me 10 minutes later and had the same conversation with me. And Shannon has prayer hands now, kind of lightly clapping them together, going, Tamra, I went to a place where they did random drug and alcohol testing. I didn't drink during the program. And Tamra goes, yeah, you did. Shannon going, you don't know anything about me. And Tamra just kind of goes, huh. And then we cut to our first commercial break, right? Now, I do, and I have heard, I think we've all heard many stories of this incident, Shannon would, from my understanding, you know, get tipsy and just get on the phone with people. I think every one of these cast members have had a similar story about Shannon Beador do that, right? I've had other people that aren't housewives say that is something, you know, we all have that friend, right? That gets a little couple 3 wines deep and then wants to call you and commiserate about their problems. And you do wonder if this was one of those bad habits that Shannon got herself into, of like, I'll have some wine, it'll embolden me, and then I'm angry. then I'm angry and I need to share it with my friends. I think Shannon made a mistake in who she chose to share this with, but who knows if she even remembered, right? But also Tamra saying that she drank during this program. I wonder where that information comes from, because Tamra seems to be very, very sure about this. Andy says, let me ask you this. Well, Tamra, what you're saying is, I think she's got a real problem and she needs to deal with it. She feels like she's dealt with it and she's gotten it under control. At what point do you say, okay, go with God? And Tamara's like, no, yeah. Tamara's doing a lot of no, yeahs. No, 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 yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. So Tamara says, I understand that, Andy, but we're not close right now. So I don't know where she's at. But this is the 10th reunion that we're talking about her drinking. And I think we were all like, oh, is that true? Could that be correct? And Shannon goes, because you have brought it up. You have brought it up every single year, Tamra. And Tamra's like, that's not true, Shannon. And then oh man, the worst editor troll of all time. We have these boxes that pop up on screen from previous reunions. 2014, Shannon Beador telling Tamra, you tell everyone that I have a drinking problem. And Tamra saying, you drink a lot, Shannon. And then all of a sudden we do another one at like 2016, where we see Shannon going, I either have too much to drink or I was slipped something. And then 2018, where Tamra says she has self-medicated herself. And Shannon saying, I'm not an alcoholic. And then 2019, Kelly Dodd says, are you drunk? And Shannon saying, I'm tired of people trying to paint me out to be a drunk. You called me completely lit up in 2019. Gina says, you called me completely lit up. And Shannon going, okay, Miss Holier Than Thou. And then another 2020, where Heather Dubrow says, you tend to drink a lot, Shannon. And Shannon saying, that's a fucked up thing to say, Heather. And Heather goes, it's not. So we have all of these examples of it being brought up at reunion after reunion, right? And Andy says, my recollection, though, at the last reunion was that it was not just Tamra that was talking about your relationship with alcohol. And Shannon's like, because exactly, I got a DUI 10 days later. I was freaking miserable when we filmed the reunion last year. And he goes, okay. Well, Cora from Overland Park, Kansas, shout out. Says, Shannon, you and Heather met at the beginning of the season and talked about rebuilding trust in your friendship. LOL. Where are you at? Do you trust each other? And Shannon says, I mean, I have a real problem with what happened at the end of the season, because when I told you the story in Sonoma, you were like, oh, Shannon. And we flash back to that of Shannon coming to Heather in Sonoma in her bathrobe saying, when I got my DUI, I took a photograph of myself and I sent it to John. And we see the photo of the blood running down Shannon Beador's face and Heather going, oh, Shannon. And back at the reunion, Shannon says, and then you tell me in London, oh, I already knew the story. I mean, that's the other game these housewives do. It now, it's turning into a housewives trope of these ladies have already heard the stories that is being revealed by the person the story happened to already from Tamara or whatever housewives character. So they already know everything that's happening. Shannon says, it was like, bravo then for your acting, because you acted like you never heard the story before. We see Katie's face smiling. And Heather goes, it's different having someone tell you a story third hand, which, by the way, we should just call Tamara third hand Tamara from third hand Tamara. And Heather goes, and the person that was involved in it, tell it to you. I knew that Tamara had told me she had seen that photo before. I had never seen that photo before. That is very, very different. So no, bravo. You don't have to add it to my IMDb. Heather, at this point, you'd be lucky to add it to your IMDb. Heather says, I was feeling horrible for you. I was happy to be there as your friend, and I didn't discuss it with anyone until the Jeff Lewis thing. Okay, our first mention of Jeff Lewis in the reunion. This is like a charcuterie count. We always like to give props when we get our first charcuterie tray of any Housewives episode, but now it's turning into a Jeff Lewis count, where Jeff Lewis is being brought up all over the Housewives franchises. And we've gotten our first, and I love how Heather always says, she says, Jeff Lewis. And we flash back to the serious Jeff Lewis live show where Jeff says, how did he not hear it? Has that ever occurred to you? And we see Doug Buden listening to Shannon, and Shannon going, I haven't really thought about it, Jeff. And Shannon in the reunion says, if you watch these clips on the Jeff Lewis, I was exhausted. In my head, I was saying I hadn't thought about it because Jeff Lewis is the person that called me 2 weeks after my DUI and said, did he hear it? I'm the one that said hadn't versus haven't. I had never thought about it, possibly hearing my accident until Jeff pointed it out to me. And Heather goes, but that was months ago. And Tamara's like, months ago prior, you know? And Tamara's like, this was weeks later. And Heather goes, but I really want to point out, I didn't talk to anyone about it until you went on Jeff Lewis. To me, that was like, okay, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. Now, Jeff is the one that called Shannon and said, you know, because they hung out like Johnny J, Shannon, Jeff, you know, like went on Johnny J's boat, I believe. So he is aware of where this accident happened, where Johnny J lives. And Jeff, you know, listen, I will say, Jeff, if you are, you know, friendly with him, he does care about, especially when his friends are down. It seems like he does care. A lot of people have very strong opinions about Mr. Lewis, but he does care. Like if you need help with something, he is going to help you or try to find a way. I know that sounds maybe bizarre or, oh, really? But so far, that is what I have noticed over this last year, even myself personally. So I do think Jeff was like, listen, she is down, but also isn't it interesting that this literally happened a block away? How did he not hear this? How did he not hear the sirens? How did he not know any of this? Right. But I didn't think this bringing it up on the radio was I don't know where the offensiveness is coming from, you know, like maybe you guys can explain that to me, because for me, I'm like, yeah, I didn't think Shannon did seem exhausted. Like she didn't want to talk about it. I was on the second hour that day and me and Justin Martindale were hosting and Shannon stayed in for it. And Shannon's daughter was there and we had a bunch of laughs and kind of cheered her up because that first hour was super intense. Right. But Andy says, I mean, if you talked about it on the radio, then, and Heather's like, right. Can you see that? And Andy says, and you had said, and Shannon goes, I guess I'll say that the first night in London was horrible for me. And Heather goes, I get it. And then Andy goes, the second and third weren't much better. Hey-o. And then Shannon goes, and then it turned into you're a liar. And then it turned into you're using me. And it's like, oh my God. Heather's like, I understand why you're upset with me. I apologize. If you don't trust me to tell me important information, please, for the love of God, don't tell me. Let's just rebuild that way. And she goes, okay. Now, I think this is such a cop-out on Heather Dubrow's part because, first off, I don't think Heather cares for Shannon in the way that you kind of just care for general humanity or people that, you know, you don't want bad. I don't think Heather wants bad things for people, but I don't think Heather gives a rip if Shannon Beador likes her or not. Like, I just don't. I think, and even Heather's like, yeah, you know what? Just don't tell me. I don't care. I don't like, it's not, but I don't need to know. Yeah, don't tell me. I'm fine with that. And I truly believe she means that. Like, I'm not looking to hear your personal information. And I think she says that very clearly. But Heather does that a lot of like, next time, this is, you know, like kind of she diffuses it and says next time. But I don't think, and this is why another reason why I'm like, Heather on the show, you know, listen, I think this cast is pretty damn good and I want to see everybody back. But Heather, it is just one of those things that have been highlighted time and time again of, you know, the thing that she's most offended about this season is a paparazzi storyline, which I thought was like a weaker storyline. And she doesn't, I mean, you know, I think she's friendly, you know, good friendly with Tamra and Emily and I mean, Gina, I think maybe a little bit on the outs, but other than that, I don't think she cares about Shannon. I think she doesn't look down on Shannon, but I mean, it's very different lifestyles across the board. And you never want these shows where you can have a character that you believe the audience believes just truly doesn't give a shit, right? Doesn't give a shit, doesn't care about somebody, and not even doesn't care somebody I'm angry at that. You know, it's more apathetic of like, oh, it's not even I don't care. It's just general apathy where you're like, oh, that's even more dangerous. Like, I want you to like care and be in it. And Heather is quick to not be in it because I don't think she genuinely cares at the end of the day. It's a nuisance and a headache, it feels like. Andy says, Tamra, what do you think Shannon's intent was in wanting to bring the Travis and Gina story to the reunion last year? Which is remember that's what came up, that Tamra threw Shannon under the bus, that she was going to bring up this Gina maybe pushed Travis down the stairs and was looking for information about that and was going to bring it up at the reunion. So we're getting that question asked. And we flash back to Tamra telling Gina, Shannon consulted an attorney to find out if you threw Travis down the stairs. And Gina's like, ugh. And Tamara in the reunion says, well, because they had been fighting. And Gina goes, she wanted to hurt me. And Tamara goes, and then, there was the wiener thing. And then and Katie goes, the wiener thing. And Jenn turns to Katie and goes, Travis's wiener. And Katie goes, oh, Travis's big penis. And Jenn goes, no, small wiener. This poor Travis, man. But I want to take a moment. We haven't brought it up again yet, but Travis, huge balls, huge nutsack and balls, according to Gina. So it's not all bad news. And Travis, I salute you. I speak your name. I think you have a very good sized penis and obviously huge balls. So I know this is, a slap in the face potentially, but it was a really funny moment between Jenn and Katie, right? And because Katie goes, oh, small wiener. And the girls are laughing about the dick stuff. And Andy goes, Gina, were you more hurt that Shannon was going to use the information at the reunion or that Tamra brought it up? Well, in the moment, truly, I was more upset that Tamra brought it up, And Shannon goes, do you know how I heard that there was even a story out there? She sent it to you. Gina goes, she sent it to you, Tamra. And Shannon's like, you told it to me, Tamra. And Tamra goes, by the way, it was the story came out 4 months before. And Shannon goes, no, Tamra, you said that Travis's ex-wife had reached out to you or someone. And Tamara's like, I have not reached out. I don't even know her name. And Shannon goes, someone's always reaching out to you, Tamra. And Tamara's like, she has never reached out to me ever. Okay. Let's do some tea time. This is not a show where I don't like to get into like tea or rumors and all that, but I will say you hear things over the years doing this, right? And, I'll get people in my DMs that'll give me a piece of information. And I'll be like, it's not my business to say. And somebody else will pick that up and roll with it. And then we can talk about it. But, I've heard through the years, kind of like Lisa, you would hear Lisa Rinna would get in the DMs with a lot of bloggers or reach out to people for information. And I've always heard the same things about Tamra. And I think Tamra, I think that's why she has a good podcast that does really well. I think she has a lot of information on people. I don't know if she reaches out to people, but people definitely give her information. I hope she would admit that. And I do wonder how much she knows. I think she's got stuff in her arsenal about Gina. I think she has stuff in her arsenal about every one of these women. And she chooses when to throw out that information. But Tamra's not an idiot. Tamra is a collector of information, and she has stuff on everybody. And, I think it's done really good in keeping that spotlight off of her personal life. Right. And she is, I think she's like that. Rinna used to be like that. I think Margaret Josephs collects information, but I don't mean that in a bad way. So please try to remember that. I just think when you get into this Housewives things, you are genuinely curious and you're like, well, what is going on in their personal life? This is a reality show. What is their actual reality? I'm not standing up for it. I think it's kind of a little reprehensible at times, and especially, for information like this. But I feel like, yeah, Tamra was egging Shannon on, right? And emboldening Shannon. Tamara's a good emboldener, where she will embolden other cast members to kind of go, well, this is how I play the game. Maybe you can play the game like that too, right? We always talked about Tamara playing this like a reality competition series instead of a Housewives show, talking about like interpersonal relationships. And I think it's just how these women choose to play their game and their characters, right? Andy says, so Tamra has admitted that she came at you too hard this season, Shannon. Is there anything else you want to explain about that? And Tamra says, I think for me, I was witnessing her drinking and she was calling me intoxicated and then going on and on. And Shannon goes, I need you to stop doing that because I didn't, Tamra. I know what the truth is. And if someone's going to believe your lies, Tamara, then I'm sorry. And Tamara goes, you just keep gaslighting. Anytime somebody brings something up. And now we have a split screen with 3 ways. We have Emily, Tamara, and Shannon. And Emily says, but why not at this point? Why don't you just say you're sorry? And Tamara goes, yeah. And Emily goes, and that's it. Just say you're sorry. And then Andy goes, she's talking to you, Tamara. Because Tamara's like, yeah. And then he's like, she's talking to you, Tamara. Apologize to Shannon. And Tamara's like, oh. And Shannon laughs in her split screen. And Emily goes, why don't you just say you're sorry? And Gina goes, yeah. She's like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. And Tamara goes, wait, Emily, sorry about what? And Shannon goes, Tamara says that I owe her an apology. So, and Andy goes, okay, hold on. Are you sorry for how you came at her this season, Tamara? And Tamara goes, yes, I was struggling with the fact that I was with you, talking with you after the DUI. I knew that you were still drinking. I knew. And Shannon shakes her head. You can't do that, Tamara. And I'm sorry, but. And Tamara's like, there's no but in there. There's no but. And then you get on the show, Shannon, and I felt like you were in the same spot that you were after your DUI. And Shannon's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. You were wrong. You were incorrect, Tamara. And Tamara goes, okay, I was wrong then. I didn't think that you got the help that you needed. And Shannon goes, I know I got the help that I needed because I'm good. And Andy goes, okay. And Tamara goes, well, that's all I ever wanted for you. LOL. Emily goes, Shannon. And I'm like, uh-oh, Shannon. Gina forgave you when you apologized and you were harsh. You said really terrible things to her. And then we flash back to a couple years ago when Shannon is next to John Janssen, the loves of each other's lives before fun Lexi. And Shannon saying, I helped Gina with her DUI. It would have gone to Child Protective Services. She's telling Jen Pedranti in this flashback. And then another scene where Shannon is saying, and they were going to arrest you in the morning, Gina. And Gina going, it is not true. And then back in the reunion, Emily says, and she forgave you, Shannon. And Shannon says, I understand. And Gina goes, and it felt good. It felt good to do that, you know? And Emily goes, and I think the toxicity is gone, and that's great. I'm saying, can you apply the same here? And Shannon goes, I accept your apology. I appreciate your apology. I just don't want to be your friend anymore. And Tamara goes, okay, fair enough. And Heather goes, you guys need a break, man. Homie, dude. And Heather goes, I need a break. And Andy's like, yep. Everybody's like, yep. And then we cut to commercial, right? Whew. So, okay, the first opening salvo of the reunion has been put out there. It gives us a roadmap for what these next 2 episodes are going to look like. So we got a lot of Tamara and Shannon. Where are we going to go next? And we're probably going to go to Katie and Heather. So let's see together as a family. Okay, so we come back from break and we see that they have not started rolling cameras yet. And we see that Gina is being touched up and she's drinking what looks like a sugar-free Red Bull. Andy is on his phone. Everybody's getting last looks. And Heather goes, I actually pooped this morning. I was so excited. Now, this is probably a biannual event for Heather Dubrow, so very exciting. And I think Emily goes, you know, Heather, I went to New York before this. So I got all constipated. I don't know why, because of travel. And Shannon gave me this stuff called Colon Max. Shannon gave me this thing called Colon Blow. I love what Shannon's like with industrial strength Colon Max. Like, so I like that the ladies are giving like backed up secrets. We got to look up let's see if Colon Max is on Amazon. Let's dip into this and see if we can provide some information about just how strong Colon Max is. Oh yeah, here it is. Colon Max, 100 capsules, only $80 for 100 capsules. And it has this is the Shannon Beador likes this stuff. It is has a 4.4 out of 5-star rating with 83 reviews. Let's read some of the reviews, shall we? And see if like the first one's like, I took an amazing shit, Shannon Beador. The customer reviews says, Colin Max. This is a 5-star review. It says, very gentle and effective, but this person spelled gentle, gentile, very gentile and effective. Here's one, 5. And it's just the heading says relief. Great product to once in a while. I love how they always leave out words and reviews. It says great product to once in a while for relief. I think once in a while used for relief. This should not be used daily. Please do not use this daily. It works great to jumpstart your system. Here's one, 5 stars. Always buy. Great product. Okay, now Linda. See, Linda, this is a 1-star review, but it says the heading of it says great product. And Linda says, I've been waiting forever for delivery and still haven't received this order. Very disappointed in time to get it. I need it for daily use. Linda, I would just read a review where you're not supposed to use this daily. Be careful out there, Linda. Here's 5 from Coleman, says extremely helpful, helps with intestinal healing and function. Here's one. Oh, Karen, but it spells her name Karon, 1 out of 5 stars. And the heading says knit full order, NIT full order. I think it's not full order. And she said, I only received 1 of the 2. So she only half blew up her colon. So guys, it's so bad it's good. Sponsored by Colon Blow, Shannon's favorite colon cleanser. Anyway, Shannon comes back on the stage and she's like, I'm sorry, you guys. We fixed the breast shelf. The breast shelf. And everybody's like, titties look good. Titties look good. And she was like, yeah, you had to get those bad boys behaving, Shannon. Yeah, you got to go those big tatas behaving. Anyways, Shannon goes, I had to tape them down. Shannon's boob tape guy having a hell of a day. Andy's face right here. I got to take a picture of this for Instagram. I duct taped him down. Shannon goes, I duct taped him down. I duct taped my breasts. And Andy's face is like, oh, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away. And Gina gives this face to Heather like, oh, crazy. And Heather Dubrow gives kissy face to Gina, and Gina gives kissy face back to Heather. Okay, whatever. Okay. Because they're on different couches. And Heather goes, I was telling her about colon Max. And Shannon goes, I'm about to poop right now. And Andy goes, excuse me? And then we hear 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome back to the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. And all of a sudden, Shannon just shits. Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. We were just in commercial break, and I've been informed by Shannon Stormsbobor that she's about to poop. Is this something we need to deal with? And Shannon goes, we've dealt with that. And Gina goes, we need the enema. And Andy goes, are you in peril? And Shannon goes, I'm going to be fine. And I have multiple Spanx on, so it's just too difficult of a maneuver right now. I didn't know you could wear Spanx on Spanx. I've worn Spanx before, but I didn't know you could do Spanx on Spanx. And at this point, if you look at it through the lens of all of these women in multiple Spanx, I mean, these are legitimate, like these are knights of the round table. This is like full body armor. Anyways, Heather goes, you'll hold it in. And Emily goes, she's harnessed. And Emily goes, glad you wore white, though. That works out really well for you. And everybody's sharing a laugh. Shit is brown. And then Shannon goes, Heather, can I borrow your dress? And then he's like, okay, ladies. Okay. And he's like, okay, ladies, this season, new housewife Katie moved her blended family to the OC, where she was ready to take some big swings, but she found herself stuck in a sand trap with Heather Dubrow. And as the season went on, bad blood between these two new frenemies was par for the course. Let's watch. And we get our Katie Janela clip package. We have Gina going, this is Katie. And you're going, oh, Shannon, like, nice to meet you. She's my friend. She's my friend. And then we see Katie showing her butthole to Tamra. And Tamra going, she showed me her butthole. And then we had Kylie, Katie's daughter, and Matt, when Kylie came in and goes, guess what just came in the mail? My name change. And Matt's like, oh my God. Katie explains in a talking head, when my ex-husband and I separated, Kylie was 9 and now there's no contact. And then a scene where Katie says, me, Kylie, and Matt are going to Korea to hopefully meet my birth mother. And Jenn says, wow. And Katie says, all I want to do is say to her, I had an amazing life and I'm fine. In a talking head, she says, when you're adopted, your life is this puzzle and the bottom right corner is missing. And then, which I think is such a beautiful sentiment, you know, I mean, that's such a good way to look at it, right? I thought that was kind of beautiful. And I hope we get a second season out of Katie and we potentially see, can you imagine a Housewives trip to Korea? How insane that would be. Anyways, then we have that scene from Sutton earlier in the season where Sutton's like, well, I loved my time here. I say, like, you're going to make really good friends, Katie Janela. I say, the OC, good for friends. And Katie's like, yeah, Sutton, that's what Gina said. And then Sutton goes, well, I love Heather Dubrow. And Katie goes, well, there's been a couple things that have happened. And Sutton's like, well, don't be the pig walking into the kitchen. I say, you going to get 8. That's what Sutton goes, you going to get 8. Don't be the old piggy in the kitchen. Like, what, where does that even come from? Were pigs in the kitchen a lot? Like, is she talking about me around a cheese board? What's going on? Anyways, then the scene with Katie, Emily, and Gina by the ocean having drinks, and Katie saying there was a little bit of bad press around Heather and Terry. I texted to my friend. I said, "Is this true? Did she hire photographers to come take a photo of her?" He said yes, and Gina's going, and Gina goes, she's going to get herself in trouble. And Emily goes, oh, this is exciting. Yeah, like everybody wants to know dirt on everybody else. And it is exciting for these ladies to have dirt on, you know, Little Miss Fancy Pants, right? And then Heather at that golf event says, on the lives of my children, I have never called a paparazzi. I have only faxed them. No. And then Katie saying, I have facts and receipts. And we see this text exchange. Settle this for me. Did Heather Dubrow call Paps to come take pics of her and her husband in public? And the guy, the king of the paparazzi, just writes back, yes, yes. And Katie in a talking head says, I can see straight through her. So we come back and Katie, the camera's on Katie, and she's just like, yes. And Andy goes, okay, before we get into that, Katie, I want to hear about your journey attempting to reconnect with your birth mother in Korea. So Andy doing a nice, let's bring the positive stuff up and then get to the negative. Where are you at with that? And she says, so we were supposed to go in May and my father-in-law has been in the hospital. He eventually passed away at the end of July. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. But it'll happen. We're supposed to go next month. We just kind of put things on hold. And then Andy says, Katie, you and Tamra both have kids who live away from you. Why did your son Max ultimately decide to stay in Atlanta with your ex? And Katie says, you know, she exhales and she says, he said he didn't want to leave his surroundings, didn't want to leave his friends. And although it kills me, literally that's his choice. And Andy says, how often do you see him? And she says, every break, Thanksgiving, Christmas, fall, spring break, summer break, he's with us. And I go to Atlanta once a month and see him. And he says, we didn't see your son Gavin much this season. Did he choose not to? Katie's like, no, my ex wouldn't sign off on him, but he turned 18 in July. So he actually signed his own waiver. And that's why you see just pictures of him now. Now, remember, Sutton Strack had a similar thing in the first season of her Housewives where her ex wouldn't let the kids be on the show. And that has changed since then. So Gina's like, and he was in San Diego. And Katie's like, he was with my niece living in San Diego because he wanted to finish the school year at his high school in San Diego. And Gina's like, so he's still there? And Katie's like, no, he's full-time. All of us are full-time in Orange County. So now this is an important little piece of information because Emily went on Jeff Lewis and said, Katie doesn't even live in the OC, got a place in like San Diego. And Gina's like, when I first met you, you reached out to me saying you needed my help as a real estate agent. And Katie's like, I did, yeah. And you lied to me about owning your home in San Diego. And Katie's like, no, I did not lie to you about owning our home. We did a lease to own with them. They wanted 2 years of rental income. So that's the situation that we had. And Emily goes, I know, but she asked you, Emily, I'm a lawyer. She asked you directly and like, do you own this home? she showed me the text, Emily says, and you said yes, but you don't own the home. And Gina goes, that's what bothers me, Emily. I'm in real estate. And then Emily goes, and then you make an Instagram reel about, and we see this Instagram reel of Katie says, I love feeding my dogs. And then in all capital letters, at my home in Orange County. And Emily's like, well, because I went on Jeff Lewis and said that I thought you had moved. And Katie goes, I didn't move out of Orange County. And Emily's like, but you live in a different house. So it's not like I was wrong. And Katie goes, I just heard that you said I moved to San Diego. I did not move to San Diego. And Emily goes, but you said in an interview that you went back to San Diego for a while. And Katie's like, for 2 months because my father-in-law was dying. And Emily goes, oh, okay. So you went back to San Diego for a couple of months. And Katie goes, because his hospital was there. That sounds like a pretty damn good answer, right? When my mom was sick, I was like spending most of my time in Arizona. Like that's a pretty damn, that makes a lot of sense. But Emily's like, let me, it's my witness now. And she's like, and then you went back to Orange County and you in a different house that you used to live in when you were filming with. And then you get mad and make an Instagram when I was actually right. And Katie's like, I was fine with it actually. And Emily's like, you did move. You don't live in the same house and you did go to San Diego for a while. I am done with this witness, Andy Cohen. And Gina goes, I just think this is a lot of inconsistencies and things that don't add up with some of the stuff that you say and do. And that makes me feel like uncomfies around you. And like, I don't trust you. And I think that everybody here, including you, have questioned that as well. And Jenn goes, there is a lot of stories. You just have to ask her because she does. She has a story and an explanation. So this is Jenn standing up for her friend, right? And then Shannon has both, hands up, being the goalie, goes, but do Shannon's trying to get a word in. And then Gina's like, but do you believe in all them? And Jenn goes, do I have a reason not to? And Heather goes, if I look you up, Tamra, there's not 100 stories. Oh, no, she says to Emily, if I look you up, there's not 100 stories online. And Emily says, there's nothing. Which I don't know if Emily's self-incriminating herself there. And Heather goes, me either. Well, there's a couple on you, Heather. And then Heather goes, except Terry cheats on me. Ha, ha, ha. And then Emily goes, oh, yeah. Everybody has skeletons in their closet, right? Andy says, Katie, you have been in the news recently regarding a $5 million lawsuit. And we see at Us Weekly headline, newcomer Katie Janela sued for $5 million over alleged stolen business idea. And this is over your company T-Shots, Andy says, claiming it wasn't your original idea. What can you clear up about that? And Katie goes, yeah, I was actually just dismissed from that case. It was my business partner and her husband's friend. I've never met this man. I don't know who he is. He claims to have had this conversation, my business partner's husband at this golf course. And he said he thought up this idea. And then we go back to a flashback to a scene that we didn't see where this idea is being pitched by this gentleman. And he's like, this golf ball. So it's going to be all white. But if you open it, essentially the shot lives in here. So this is for people who play golf that want to get hammered on the golf cart without paying those golf course prices, right? And we see Emily and Jenn, they're all in lab coats, like Kylie Jenner putting together her makeup. And they're like, you would take the shot right from here. And Emily and Jenn are just shaking their head up like, yes. And then here we go, Heather. Heather says, there's just a lot of hinky stories. Hinky. Heather goes, Sutton texted me last week and said to me, she used me. And Katie goes, I used her. She came to my house in Augusta and said she was going to bring all these high-level golfers. And we see Sutton saying, this is nuts. This is what she did at my house in Augusta. Never paid for the photographer. Didn't bring any golfers. And it looks, I don't know. So it looks like Heather Dubrow sent this Us Weekly, Us Magazine, sued for $5 million, sent this article to Sutton. Isn't this the same thing that we're trying to steer away? Like everybody's just talking behind everybody's back, trying to pull up information, trying to get content. But it looks like Heather is really pressed about Katie. But Sutton says, yay, this is what she did at my house in Augusta. I say, she never paid for the photographers, didn't bring no high-level golfers. No one showed up. She didn't pay the photographer. I said, she just used me to promote her business. And Katie goes, I offered to pay her for all of it, even the catering. And Heather goes, I'm just telling you what Sutton said. That is hinky. And then Andy goes, okay, Katie in San Antonio wants to know the story behind getting snubbed by Heather at Sutton's Christmas party. And Heather goes, well, this is good because there's 3 different stories. The first story was that I saw you in the driveway and I looked at you and I looked at your husband. And Katie goes, driveway? You never saw me in the driveway. You saw me in front of the bar. And Heather goes, my turn to speak. Quiet pause. And then you looked away. And then I looked away and I snubbed you. The second story was that I was at the bar. And Katie goes, that is the story. And I was with Denise Richards and Camille, but I never even saw Camille at that party. That was story 2. And then story 3, she was, and Katie goes, she was standing right next to you, Heather. And then Heather goes, I'm still speaking. And story 3 was that there's a shot of Andy kind of just like being bemused by this. I was in a group of people and your name was said and I heard it. And Katie goes, no, that was about Sutton's recent party. And then Heather goes, I'm still not done. And I heard your name and I didn't respond. And everyone standing there thought it was weird. Let me just tell you something. And Katie goes, oh my God, when someone is coming into this group, we all want to have friends. Only a moron would do that. And I am not a moron. Katie goes, right. And I don't know how it devolved into these 3 separate stories. But I promise you, had I known who you were, I would have said hi. And Gina goes, it would have been in her best interest to say hello, you know? Well, so now it's really perception, right? And do we think these housewives, if we're to believe that all these housewives are in each other's DMs, getting information, getting all of this stuff, they know more than they let on. So are we saying Heather was just blissfully ignorant that this was her new cast member? So, you're speaking on Heather's name, but Heather's saying there is no way in hell that any of this is true or happened or what, and listen, I've been ignored most of my life. I think nobody knows who I am. I think, I don't know. Like, I don't personally usually care, but I don't think people know who I am, or even at parties where, where I'm with family. I'm like, I'm your son, Ryan. So I don't know what to believe. And also it's one of those, this whole thing, I just don't know if I care when we have these more exciting things. I mean, can 2 things be true at once? We always say that they can. Can Katie have thought Heather did know and Heather didn't know? But then we then bring the paparazzi into it. But Heather is getting really pressed and really defensive. Now, people will always say, if you get this defensive, there's something there, right? And that's the thing that I keep coming back to, because like Heather should be able to laugh all of this shit off, because who the F cares? This is a first season housewife. No offense, Katie, and also Katie wasn't like, anytime Katie was talking about this shit, it wasn't like, can you believe this fucking bitch, Heather Dubrow? Like, it was always just like, well, this is what I heard. This is what, I don't know. Like, this is why I can't wait to see Katie in a second season, to see what we can get from that. But Heather is very thrown. And that's the thing that keeps throwing me, because to me, Heather is in such a power position being with this show and so respected on this show for so long, that why get thrown off by this really basic stuff, right? And he says, Katie, Victoria from LA said, no one person runs all the paparazzi in LA. Is it possible your friend meant, yes, it looked like paparazzi, versus having proof that Heather hired a photographer? And Katie goes, no, we had a phone conversation after that text. He called me and he said, why do you want to know this? And I said, I saw it on my TikTok feed. This is why we got to get rid of TikTok, folks. It was funny, by the way, this person, and there's a shot of Heather Dubrow just shaking her head. By the way, this person, and Andy goes, who is this person? And Andy goes, but I don't think you saw it on your TikTok feed, Katie. And Jean's like, no, you didn't. And Emily's like, the TikTok was 2 years. No, Heather goes, this TikTok was 2 years ago. So everybody knows what this fucking TikTok is. They're all up on everything. And Emily says, you told Jeana something totally different on a phone call. Emily's like, Your Honor, I need a moment with the witness again. It's time for listen, I'm doing my law thing right now. And Katie goes, no, it came across my For You page. I screenshotted the TikTok and sent it to him. And that's what you see in our text thread. It just came on my For You page. And Emily goes, yeah, but the reason that you were asking about it in the first place wasn't because it was on a TikTok feed. And Andy goes, what was your conversation with your source? And Katie says he had said that it wasn't Heather, that it was somebody close to her. Okay, so that's a little piece of information, right? So it wasn't Heather, but could it have been Heather's assistant? Could it have been somebody? These people do have other people that work for them. And I don't see, like, and I was saying other people that do their dirty work, but I don't think calling the paparazzi is doing the dirty work. I think it's part of celebrity. I think it's part of public image. I think this is what the whole grand mystique of celebrity is that you do, like you want your picture out there. Why would I ever begrudge? I mean, sometimes I thought it was funny when Bronwyn Wyndham Burke was like, paparazzi was allegedly stalking her on the beach. I thought those were so silly because she just kept adamantly, no, no, no. But I'm like, come on, they're driving down to Hermosa to get shots of you and your lady love on the beach. Like, God, it's a bridge too far sometimes. But I don't. I mean, I don't know. It's neither here nor there for me because I just assume they all do it, right? And I don't know. I like seeing. I mean, come on, those are great photos of her and Terry at Disneyland. It looked like prom photos. Him holding her from the back, them smile. I mean, it's great. Anyways, Heather goes, I want to be clear. I didn't call the paparazzi. I didn't pass a note in biology to someone. I didn't wink at any. Wait, biology? We're going back to high school? And Emily's laughing. And Kenny goes, I get it. And Heather's like, nobody notified the paparazzi. Let it go. I don't know why you were trying to look into things about me months before you met me. I don't care what you saw on TikTok. She did the quotes, and Emily then kind of finds that amusing and does the hand quotes. It is weird. I was very interested in meeting you. Nothing about you adds up. I think there's a story for everything. And Emily shakes her head. And I don't think you have absolutely no credibility. And Shannon whips her head to Katie. What? No credibility? And Tamra smiles at woo, Heather, you just handed out an ass whooping. But to what effect? To what effect, right? I just said great. You okay. You stood up for yourself. Great, Heather. I don't know. I just felt like trying to not bully, but it was an ass kicking for no reason. I just felt like the ass kicking wasn't couldn't we have cleared this up during the season? Because it started out that way. And if we're supposed to live in a world where we believe that these housewives don't collect information on anybody, all of you ladies are guilty of that, period. I mean, we just had a post this morning. I think I saw this on the account Bravo OMG. One sec. Let me pull this up. And it's so funny. And this is the reality of these situations. It's what the fuck? What? Oh, wait. Is there two Bravo OMGG? Huh. Oh, weird. This seems very different than the Bravo. Oh, where did Bravo OMG go? Hold on one sec, folks. Weird. Hold up. This is why you always on my Instagram as well, I'll get it's called shadow banning, and it just means people reported your account, blah 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 blah, and you won't show up. People will still see you, but they won't see you as frequently or as often. So you always want to set up alerts if you like a creator, that way if anything happens to them. But I just typed in, I remember seeing this post earlier today from Bravo OMG, but when I typed in the account, it didn't pop up at first. And I was like, oh my God, what? And it just probably means he's got the guy that runs this account, who I like, probably has got a lot of things reported about his account, which then brings him down in the search. So if you want to support your creators out there, set up alerts, make sure you follow them, make sure you check, all that jazz. But it's this great post. Says Emily Simpson cyber snooping on Katie's TikTok while at the Neff Cure Gala, ? Hilarious. Katie lives rent-free in their heads. And this Neff Cure Gala was held, I think, a couple weeks ago, and a lot of the OC people were there. We see Terry bidding on an item, Heather smiling, Tamra next to him. And then you see Emily, the back of Emily, and this is on the Neff Cure Instagram page. And Emily has her phone up and she's looking at something. And if you zoom in, she's looking at Katie's TikTok, Katie Janela's TikTok with Matt when they went away, I guess, on that weekend. And it's just, and by the way, I think this is what they all do. This isn't bad about Emily at all. I love that they're at this neck out and Emily's like, yep, time to fire up this, see what everybody's doing, see what Katie's up to. They all do this. So it's not like you're like, oh, like, look at, you didn't see this on the tape. Everybody sees everything if you're a housewife. You are kept up to date. You are probably given emergency briefings every morning about everything. And Emily truly is curious about this. So that's why it's so interesting how hard Emily is coming. Emily does have a lot of information and she pays attention. Her ears are to the ground. So, I just thought that was such a funny post because it was like right there and I don't dig like that. I don't do any kind of detective working. You're like, yeah, we know. But when you see something like that, I love it when other people point that out because I'm not out there looking for these things. So it's just so, it's like it's right there. Anyways, Heather goes, I don't know why you were trying to look into things about me months before you met me. I think, this. So she's like, I think there's a story for everything, credibility, blah, blah, blah. And Katie just goes, okay, I want to apologize to you for saying that I think it was a setup, Gina, because Tamara and I had that conversation and we had that flashback where Tamara says, Gina knew it would not be funny. You got set up, Katie. You got set up. And Katie goes, you really believe that, Tamara? And Tamara shakes her head, yes. And Katie says in the reunion, and me being very new, her saying that to me, I was like, do you really think that? And Heather's like trying to lean into Emily to say that. And also it's just so funny having this Tamara flashback because it's like they're going so hard on Katie that you're like, God, Tamara's right there. Tamara's right there. Like everybody should be going up against Tamara for like injustices. Even Tamara in that scene, throwing that in Katie's head. I mean, Tamara's a pro, but like Katie's just getting stomped. And we got Tamara right there. Like it would be so easy. It was like Vanderpump Rules last season. Sandoval was right there. Instead, we have women fighting against other women. Anyways, Katie's like, do you think that's possible? And Emily and Tamara and kind of Heather, I don't know. That side of the couch not working for me personally right now. And Tamara goes, well, it was because of all the things you were telling me. So Tamara trying to defend herself. And Katie goes, right. Well, it was just the whole situation in general. And Tamara's like, that she thought that Gina told you to bring it up, that it would be funny. And Katie's like, yeah, the night before the golf event, we talked about it. And I said, I really want to tell Heather, woman to woman, this is what I want to tell her. I didn't want it to be this whole group thing. And Heather goes, but you told the whole group first. Well, but also Heather, kind of like Tamara, third-hand Tamara tells you everything about Shannon before you go into a scene with Shannon. Everybody makes these same mistakes or everybody uses the same course of action. So you can't be so offended when the same things that you use, other people use as well, right? Gina goes, I said at the bar, why did you tell everybody? I just felt like I was. And Heather goes, it was on purpose. And Katie goes, well, it was too far gone by then. And by the way, Katie's so interesting because she's so even keeled. Like even when she's like being stomped on, she still kind of remains even keeled, right? And then Heather goes, but by the way, how about this? Why do you care? Well, I would throw it back to Heather. Why do you care so much? Why do you care, Heather? And Katie goes, I honestly, Heather, didn't think this would be so rattling. No, you did. You did. And she says, no, I didn't. This is your thing, by the way. And Katie goes, don't put words in my mouth. And this is where Heather, I think, makes a brutal mistake and really gross. And she goes, by the way, falsely accusing people is kind of your thing. I get it. And Emily knows, like they've already talked about, Emily knows immediately what she refers to. And Tamara knows too. Tamara goes, ooh. And this, we're about to bring up a real situation in Katie's past that is just like, come on. I don't know. Like, I guess it's all fair game, but it just left me feeling really skeevy. And Katie goes, oh my God. And Shannon goes, what else has there been falsely accused? And Jenn Pedranti says, I think you thought it was, and Emily goes, I'll take it from here. She falsely accused someone and he ended up going to prison. And Katie goes, he didn't go to prison. Can I just tell the story? And Emily goes, no, I don't know. I don't know if you want to tell the story. And Katie goes, I do want to tell the story. I love that they bring it up. No, we don't want to interfere. No, we don't. No, I don't know if we believe you telling the story, Emily says. So now they really are coming out with, they really seem to believe that Katie is a liar. Sandoval's a liar. They believe that Katie is a liar. And I just think this is in poor taste for so many reasons. And I just am shocked. If you want to come at Katie for the paparazzi thing, even though I think it's like hinky, as Heather Dubrow would say, and weird, go for it. But now this is where it kind of turns a corner for me. And I just think I just wish Emily wasn't involved in this part of the conversation. And I really like Emily. And and I'm sure there's more to this story that we don't get to hear in this reunion. And I don't know. This just felt really, there's real and then there's real. And this felt, ugh. And Heather goes, we read the story. And Andy goes, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. And Katie goes, okay. Gather around. Okay. The kids and I were driving in Marietta, Georgia on a 4-lane road. And Andy goes, when was this? And she goes, 9-10 years ago. Okay. A man was swerving into our lane with his window down, yelling, fuck you, bitch, at me. And I was like, holy cow. Fuck you, bitch. Yeah. Anybody yells, fuck you, bitch. I'm like, holy cow. Oh, Shazam, Batman. She goes, so I had 3 kids in the back of my car. So just go with this, like 3 kids, the back of her car. They were little, she says. I pulled off on a side road to like let him pass me. He went right in front of my car and started screaming at me. I called the police. The police said, can you leave? I put my car in reverse. He ran to the back of my car. He started filming inside of my car, my children. And thank God, I was so scared that Bravo was going to find this footage and put the footage up. And I was like, no. And they didn't, thank God. She says, my children are screaming, crying. There's a shot of a split screen, a shot of Heather Dubrow's face, just listening. Katie says, my kids remember that day. It was terrifying. He's filming us. And Heather goes, that's not the story the police tell. Andy goes, okay, go on. And Katie goes, right. They tell a one-sided story. And then Emily goes, the police? Guys, I realize what a tough job a policeman's job is, but we also now have so many instances, and I don't think it's bad to say that they have lied in the past. Like it's not like it's never happened before. And I say that with love in my heart, but like the police, yes, Emily, no, like, come on, Emily, you also work with innocence projects and helping prisoners. You've highlighted stories where the police have fudged things. Yes. Like, come on. Andy says, hold on. I want to hear the rest of your story. Katie says, okay. And Heather's smiling at this part. So then I'm like, he won't let me leave. Like Heather's smiling. They have a split. Like, this is why it just feels gross. Katie says, he runs in front of my car when I try to leave. The police come in and they're like, calm down, calm down. They're like, if you don't calm down, we'll tase you. And I think Jenn says, this is insane. And Katie's like, and yeah. And he's like, F you to the police. They tase him and he goes to jail. And Heather has a face like, not how I heard it. Katie goes, I had nothing to do with him going to jail. And Heather goes, well, that's not how the police tell the story. The police tell the story that you followed the guy home. And Katie goes, I would never follow anyone home. And Heather's like, so the police are lying. And Andy turns to Heather and goes, how do you know what the police said about it? And Heather goes, because they have statements in that article, because it was on my FYP page on my TikTok. And we have a In Touch magazine article from August 29th saying Katie Janela accused of calling police to report fake crime causing wrongful arrest. And Katie goes, yes, from him and them. And they're like, from the police. And Katie goes, if you read the police report, the statement, which by the way, I assume I believe it's more than just the In Touch article. I believe they've read the police report. If you read the police report, the statement I gave to Cobb County Police, it's a lot different. It's a lot different. And then Heather jumps in. She was driving her car and she was texting with children in the car. She was like, Heather's like, she was calling the paparazzi. No, and this guy saw her and he was triggered because a family member had been killed from driving, texting person. Emily's shaking her head like, yes, yes. And he told her to stop and that she was outraged, followed him home. And Katie goes, I don't know where he lives. Why would I follow someone home with my 3 young kids in the back? And Heather goes, I don't know. How would we know? Heather says. And Katie's like, she pulled behind him in his driveway, came out. Oh, sorry. Heather's saying she pulled in the driveway behind him. She was yelling at him. He filmed her because he thought she was getting crazy and she called the police. The police come. They pulled her aside. She said, he won't let me leave. They threw him to the ground. He got injured. And then they took him to jail in front of his neighbors, got him to jail, and then realized that Katie was the aggressor, not him, and he was released. And Katie says, I don't remember neighbors being there. And Katie says, because I couldn't even tell my side. So he was released, so he didn't go to prison. I mean, I'm so confused now because they said, oh, he went to prison. No, he was released, right? And Katie goes, because I couldn't even tell my side. I didn't even go to court because they served my ex-husband. And Annie's like, why did they serve your ex-husband? Was he in the car? And Katie's like, no, they went to his house because that was my address at the time on my license or whatever. My lawyer said, did you know you had this date? And I said, no, what is it? So I didn't show up. So I'm immediately guilty because I never showed up. At the time, I was literally homeless with 3 kids. Like, we had nowhere to go. So they served my ex-husband. So I didn't even know about it. Okay, so this is like real shit, you guys. Right? And I think it's because I think like at this moment, it seems like, or it feels like with the cameras, Emily and Heather start to sober up over their kind of accusations and start like, oh, okay. And Gina's like, I didn't even know they could serve your ex-husband. Ah. And Katie's like, they left it because that was my address on my license. They left it. And Gina's like, I don't think they can do that. Well, by the way, didn't just recently Ryan Boyajian, the cease and desist was left for Tamra and not handed to her. So I don't know, you guys, there are Emily D. Baker. I mean, I wish Emily D. Baker was back on the show so I could ask specifically about this. But Katie's saying that was horrifying. Kylie and Gavin still remember it. They're terrified of that. And Emily goes, but do you see? I feel like it's a pattern with you that every time you get called out on something, there's just an excuse for everything. There's a story that's always different than someone else's story. And Shannon's like, just a lot of investigation here. I knew nothing about this. It's all. And Heather goes, it's all over the internet, Shannon. No one's investigating. Well, you kind of are investigating. Come on. And Shannon's like, I don't look that often. I don't look at the internet that often. And Emily's like, it's everywhere. And Heather's like, it's everywhere. Guys, and maybe this is just me blissfully in my own dumb world, but I didn't even see this story. I saw another story about Katie and her husband, but I didn't see the story. But I also don't go search these things out. And I think I'm pretty maybe I'm not, but I always think I'm pretty up to date on the Housewives, but I don't go down Reddit rabbit holes unless it's sent to me. I don't go. So this was something that it's everywhere. No, I mean, not like, I don't know, maybe just Us Weekly and In Touch is just pop up in their feed, but you have to go, you do kind of have to look for it a little bit because do you know what I'm saying? Anyways, Heather's like, I don't do that. I am classy. And Andy's like, you started the day by saying, I don't want to be in an environment where people dig stuff up on other people. Andy's laughing. And we flash back to before they started the reunion where Heather's in the trailer with Andy. And Heather's like, digging things up on people, it's enough. And Andy in the reunion says, you're bringing up a lot of stuff. Andy, I love Andy, nails it. And Emily goes, I think she thinks that if it's in the public domain where you're just flipping through Instagram and there's an article and Heather's like, yeah, no, that exactly, Emily. I'm not calling any attorney. I'm not hiring a sub Rosa. I'm not calling for paparazzi. It's in the bloggers. It's out. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all consuming. God, that's what I'm telling you. Don't believe a housewife when they say they don't do social media. Don't believe Lala when she says she protects her peace. None of them protect their peace. They look at all of it. And Heather goes, you don't have to dig for anything. And Andy goes, okay, well, any other questions for her? Hey, Katie's just had the shit kicked out of her. Any other thing we want to bring up? And Emily's like, Your Honor, I have some stuff. I just have a question about I saw an article and I read it. Always a good sign when you read an article. And it was about when you were first divorced. And we have an In Touch headline. In Touch getting a lot of press. It says Katie Janela's shocking divorce battle with ex-husband over custody and support exposed. In Touch had real boner for Katie Janela in August because this is August 14th. The article we saw prior was August 24th. Bad month for Katie with In Touch magazine. Emily says, you didn't have physical or legal custody of your children. I don't understand how something like that happens, because here in California, for you to lose both physical and legal, you have to be unfit or you sign papers and say, I don't want anything to do with my kids. And then he goes, what happened? And Katie goes, I was living in, I can't say the name, in a facility in Atlanta. My parents, who lived 20 minutes from me, wouldn't help me because they wouldn't agree that I was divorcing my ex-husband. So he was immediately awarded the kids because I could not provide a place for them to live. And Emily's like, well, why was it legal custody as well? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. And Katie goes, I don't know. And Emily goes, legal custody is just decision-making power. So it has to do with the health and wellness of the kids. And Katie goes, at the time, I thought, you know what? Right now, this is okay. I was trying to get my life together to figure out how I could get them back. And Andy says, how did you get custody back? And Katie goes, we went to court a few times to fight it. And Annie goes, and you wound up building a life for yourself and getting custody back. Katie's like, yeah. And Annie goes, wow. And then Jenn goes, how long were they in his custody, her exes? And Katie says, it was 18 months until we could go back. And now Emily's shaking her head on this, like, yes, that sounds very law approved. Yes, yes. And Jenn goes, but you were still co-parenting and doing your thing with the kids. And she's like, yep, I never missed a time either. I never missed a time with my kids. That was horrible, horrible time. And she's starting to tear up a little bit. So, you know, she's always pretty even keeled, but starting to tear up. And Emily's shaking her head and Jeana. And then like all three of them, like I'm on a freeze frame right now. Tamra with like, and Emily and Heather. And it's just a bad look, ladies. It really is. And listen, if this is true about Katie, about like making up stories and all of this stuff, he wants to do another season. You know, Katie knows with doing another season, there's going to be more information that comes out. So if this is not true, it will only get worse for Katie. And she still wants to go on. So, you know, right now you got to give Katie the benefit of the doubt. And I just think this was a bad move on the half of this side of the couch. And then you can't come this hard and then be immediately apologetic, because we see Heather Dubrow on break come over to Katie, which I think is a big thing to do. But man, you know, you caused this. And Jenn says, I'm sorry, Katie. I'm sorry. You need a tissue. And Andy's like, all right, we're going to leave it there. I love Andy. We're going to leave it there. And we cut. And Katie goes, I hate talking about my ex-husband to Jenn Pedranti. And now Heather walks over and goes, Katie, yeah, I'm very sorry about what you went through. I'm sure that was very difficult. I don't know the whole story, but I just wanted to say that. I'm very sorry. And Heather, you know, Heather knows the right thing to do, you know, and I'm glad she did this immediately after, but listen, I mean, this relationship seems pretty set in stone at this point, and I don't know if Katie is vindictive at all, so we will see. But also, just going into a season, remember, if you're any housewife, Crystal Minkoff has a new podcast with Cynthia Bailey, and they were talking about, you know, her going into the next season and how they had her answer all of these questions about what her storylines would be. So remember, these producers work on storylines with them. They don't make it up, but they, you know, go, okay, this happened. This could potentially be a storyline. This could be potentially a storyline, right? It's a puzzle in itself. So this is the stuff the show is about, right? This is one of the things that she had to offer. Now, but you know what I'm saying? Okay, so Katie's getting touched up from the tears. This poor makeup artist, after like an intense showdown like that. Whoo! So we come back from break. I think, is this our last commercial break of the episode? Anyways, Heather, they haven't started rolling yet, and Heather rolls up to Jeana and goes, Jeana, you look fabulous. How you keep your vagina inside your skirt, I don't even know. And Gina's like, I mean, I don't really, you know, a lot of real estate there. I don't keep it in my skirt, really. Yeah, I'm Gina. And she's like, no, it's just kind of whatever it is. I love that. Andy is playing a video to Shannon of his son, I think Ben, or his daughter Lucy, going, Dada, Dada. And Shannon's like, oh my God. How old is Lucy now, Andy? And Andy's like, she's 2.5. Okay, ladies, here we go. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome back to the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. This year, as Jenn was betting it all on her future with Ryan, Tamra was dealing out accusations about Jenn's future husband. And when Ryan found himself in the center of an international scandal, we learned that Tamra wasn't the only one looking into his background. Take a look. And we have a package of Ryan on the beach asking Jenn to marry him, and Jenn saying, my man asked me to marry him. Yes, yes, yes. And flashing the huge rock. And then a scene with Jenn talking to Tamra earlier in the season saying, I am so happy where you and I are, Tamra. And then a shot of her putting her foot in Tamra's mouth and eating pie off of it while Katie's filming it. They're all laughing. Ugh, OnlyFans nightmare. And then a scene with Eddie saying, Jenn is a kind, loving woman, but I want nothing to do with that guy. I am so curious about Eddie's, because Eddie always, and Jenn about Eddie as well, they both go out of their way to say how nice and kind the other ones are. So I really do. I'm so curious. That relationship seems very strong, but also Eddie's like, I want nothing to do with that guy. We have a scene of Jenn showing off the ring to all the other ladies, and Shannon, oh my God. And Gina like, oh my God, Jenn. Oh. And then at the engagement party last episode, Jenn says, I have happiness that I've never had. And Katie saying in a talking head, I have sat in the same place that Jenn is at. You always have to have a plan B. And then earlier in the season, Katie asking Jenn, what does Ryan do for a living? Like, what does he do? And Jenn saying, well, nothing now. And then Tamra in that drunken moment going, how's the FBI going for you? And Eddie going, stop. And them all going, FBI? FBI? Food Bureau? What? Food what? And Emily going, huh? And Emily in a talking head says, I do know that Ryan and this guy that has been investigated by the FBI go to Vegas a lot. Emily, all the information, Emily. We go all the info, Emily. And Tamra telling Katie, she knows he's a piece of shit. And then Jenn in London coming into Tamra, guns blazing. You did a fucking background check on Ryan. And Tamra clapping like, congratulations. Fuck you, she says. And then another scene in London where Jen's like, have you talked about him being a bookie? Have you talked about a Ponzi scheme? You better shut your fucking mouth. And Tamra's like, oh, okay, why? He's going to put a hit on me? Ooh, Greek Mafia, Angie Katsunavis, we need you right now. All of a sudden, we see an Us Weekly headline pop up. Jen Pedranti's fiance, Ryan Boyajian, connected to Shohei Ohtani's gambling scheme. What the fuck? It says. This is huge, Tamra says. This is the biggest scandal out there, Emily says. A scene with Jen Pedranti talking to Ryan saying, it's going to be a bloodbath for me. And then Heather going, his friend Matt, like I knew, was a professional gambler. And Katie to Gina going, he was at the party. And Gina going, zoinks, what? And then we hear the hot mic moment at the engagement party saying it was all over the news, you know. And then Matt joking about Ryan going, this is my money launderer. And Matt, I'm like, oh my God, why are we all laughing? And then Ryan telling Jenn, I'm not a part of his bookie business. And then Emily saying $16 million into his account. He didn't know where it came from. And then Tamra going, I was right about Brooks. I'm right about Ryan. And Emily goes, he could go to prison. And then slapping the FBI hat. Tamra slaps on the FBI hat. We then go to Jenn crying in the finale episode and just saying, I fucked it all up. I fucked it all up. And we see Jenn at the reunion and Andy goes, all right. When this news broke that there was this gambling scandal and that he was involved, did you consider breaking off your engagement? And Jen goes, no, that day was hard. And I felt like Ryan went in one way and I went another way and our phones were blowing up. I mean, what does that mean? Like he went grocery shopping and I went to Macy's. Like what does that mean? You guys just needed to take time from each other or you actually had, anyways. Andy says, did Ryan say I'm cooperating with the authorities? I have immunity. Don't worry. And Jen goes, this was so long ago. I had already known all that. This had happened almost 7 months prior to that. And Andy goes, he had already been working with the authorities. And Jenn goes, yeah, he had those 2 Zoom calls. And I'm like, Jenn, we don't know about the Zoom calls. He's like, yeah, the 2 Zoom calls. And then Tamra goes, then why were you surprised when I mentioned the FBI? And Emily goes, yeah, but then when I was asking Ryan that night, and Jenn goes, because you mentioned the FBI as if Ryan is in trouble with the feds. Ask him how the feds are going. Ryan and his attorney reached out to the feds. The feds never reached out to Ryan. The feds never came to Ryan's home. Okay, so that directly conflicts what Tamra was saying, right? And Andy says, well, they might have had he not cooperated. And Jenn says, well, I don't know. And Heather goes, but in that moment, remember, he was like, I don't know. Maybe she's talking about Matt, as if he had no idea, Emily says. And they're like, he knew. And Shannon goes, as a person of experience, when you're involved in a lawsuit, bring it to John Janssen, and you're on a reality show and it's ongoing, Andy's like, you're not volunteering it. And Shannon's like, you're not going to sit there and say, oh, well, da. And he goes, okay, I want to back up for a minute. But Shannon's right? Like the reality is you still are going to protect yourself. You're not going to be like, you got me, a full FBI cooperation here. Good detective work, Emily. Like you're not going to do that. So that's, why we have this show. So Andy wants to back up for a minute. Jenn, what did you mean when you said you literally fucked it all up? And Jenn goes, I knew this article was coming. We were told it was like, we want to mention Ryan's name. Ryan's attorney said, then I want it known I'm not a bookie and I have no part in this Shohei Ohtani situation. And then so when it came out, I felt like this is on me because if I wasn't sitting on this couch, he wouldn't have been mentioned. It would have been about Matt and Matt's business, but Ryan was involved, Emily said. Emily goes, but Ryan was involved and that's why they were writing about it. That's why he was mentioned. I feel badly that you think the reason that he's being implicated is because of something you did. And that's not true. And Jenn goes, but he is not involved in Matt's bookie business at all. But, to Jenn's point, and what Emily was saying, to Jenn's point, the reason why we eat this up even more is because there is a Housewives connection through Jenn, right? So it's, this Matthew guy, if it was just Matthew and Ryan and there was no connection to the show, it would have been brought up and ESPN and all of that stuff. But the Housewives contingent, all of us with our pitchforks, we wouldn't be talking about it, right? So Jenn saying it never has been. None of it's been true ever. And Emily goes, that's not true though. It is true, Jenn says. And Emily goes, but you can say it's true, but I'm telling you everything I've read and I've done as much research as possible to understand it. Now I believe that this, we can call it research, but it's investigating at this point. This isn't something just popping up on Emily's feed. She has done the research. And she says, I want to understand it. He is involved, and in order for him to have immunity, that means that he testifies. Okay, so to go back to Emily D. Baker, that I just did that episode yesterday, we talk about full use immunity. And Emily D. Baker agrees with Emily Simpson that you have to give information. You have to play ball, right? And Jenn's like, there was never a test. He never testified. And Andy goes, how did he get immunity then? And Emily goes, oh, I would think that he's providing information about Matt so that they can prosecute Matt. And Jenn goes, that's his best friend. Jenn, I love Jenn so much. I think she's had a fantastic season. I feel for her. I know it's his best friend, but yes, I even believe that he had to give something and he's going to implicate Matt. And I probably believe too that Matt said, I get it. That's okay. You got to do what you got to do. Just from that hot mic moment, right? And Gina's like, you said he said everything he knew about him. And Annie's like, that's how you get immunity. And Jenn goes, I don't know where everybody gets that. And Emily, drink every time Emily says this, because I'm an attorney and that's how it works. And Gina's like, yeah, he told what he knew. He told what he knew. And Emily's like, when you get immunity, it's because you're exchanging. You're exchanging. It's an exchange. And Jenn says, I think you have to volunteer. I think he had to volunteer the account. It's, and Heather's like, no, it's an exchange of information. And Jen's like, no, he volunteered. Like, here, here's the account. Have at it. Here's the computer. Here's the account. Here's the phone. And Emily's like, that's all I'm saying. And Jen's like, yeah, he submitted whatever he needed to submit to them. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know the legal system enough, but maybe in Jen's head, so it's not been testifying out of his own mouth, but maybe he said, here's all of the stuff. So maybe Ryan's story is being told through text messaging, computer, all of that stuff, right? But I would imagine they would be using third-party apps to decrypt or to encrypt all of this information. So I don't know, you guys. I'm trying to believe Jenn because I want to believe Jenn. I want to believe Jenn on all of this. But maybe there, I don't know. Is there a world that can be just like, I'm not going to say anything about him, but here's all the stuff in text messages that we've said and we've spoken about, right? And Katie goes, and he just agreed. Okay. And Andy goes, can you explain what the dirty business was? And Jen goes, I don't know where's the dirty business? And Emily goes, I can explain. We know, Emily. We know. And Andy's like, yes, please. So we go to another, okay, this was actually our last commercial break. We come back and Emily's like, okay. So Otani's interpreter has a gambling addiction. He makes all these bets with Matt. Matt is an illegal bookie. And Jen goes, yeah. Jen goes, yes. And Emily goes, so he racked up a ton of debt. So then in order to pay his debts, he stole money out of Otani's account. That money went into Ryan's account. It was between 15, 16, 17 million. When you get that high up in the millions, who even cares? 16, 17, I don't give a fuck. Emily says it was in Ryan's name. Ryan moved the money into marker accounts and casinos, specifically Resorts World and Pachanga. And then he cashed that money in for chips and that they gambled. And that Ryan and Matt took 32 trips to Vegas. I'm not laughing at I'm laughing at Emily knowing so specifically. Like the monologue's great. It's like the end of My Cousin Vinny. She's like, they took trips between 02 and 03. And Jen's like, I've read 32. I've read 40 some. I've read 16 million. And Emily goes, so the point is, and Jen goes, the reason Matt used that bank account was because he could only bank through a B of A. Oh, Bank of America getting pulled in. He did not have a B of A account, so he used that account when he had no idea it was going to blow up. So this was just like, this was just a, just a rainy day account. Just, we all open bank accounts and just, hey, this is just for the future. I'm not going to even think about it. And Jen says, and he be an e-pay interpreter. Whose money is this? And Jen goes, Emily, I want to finish. Every dollar was accounted for by Matt. Ryan's name was on the account. That was the mistake. And Tamra goes, but I get an alert on my phone if I get $10,000 deposited. Podcasting money, cha-ching. Not here, but over the twats. And then Gina goes, hey, you know what? I'm trying to, my dress, keeping my vagina in. Don't forget here. Can I tell you why I worry for Jen sometimes? Because Ryan was aware that his friend had an illegal gambling business. Part of that, his friend's thing was that he was sending these planes and getting these rooms and da-da-da-da-da. And Jen goes, no, that's not how it goes, guys. Uh-oh, Jen, don't implicate yourself. That's not how it goes, guys. That's not how it goes. And Gina's like, so why was he getting all these? And Jen goes, why was he doing all these big bets? And Jen's like, because his bookie business made him a lot of money. And Emily's like, then why did he go to Vegas 32 times between 02 and 03? And Jen's like, Matt went to Vegas all the time. And Gina's like, all I'm saying. And Emily's like, well, why did Ryan go that many times? And Shannon turns to Andy, is this okay about she's talking about this? And Andy goes, he has immunity, Shannon. He's clearly cooperating with them. Don't say that in front of Jen. And she goes, I don't know. And Gina's talking to Jen. I get nervous for you because I don't want you on those planes and in those hotel rooms. And Jen goes, ask Tamra, Gina. I don't, what are you over there? What are you over there chiming in? Jen says. And Andy goes, she's not saying anything. She didn't say anything. And Tamara's like smiling. And Jen's like, yeah, she shouldn't. Emily goes, look, I'm not here to attack Ryan. I'm an attorney. I'm really not. I don't like to talk about legal things unless I understand what I'm talking about. Okay. The two of them were cashing the chips in that they lost $12 million gambling. And Jen's like, oh, I've read a million different ways. And Emily's like, and that was laundering money. And Shan's like, wow. And Emily's like, and he said at your party, he goes, this is my money laundering partner. And Jen goes, if you know Matt knows. If you know Matt loves to joke about laundering money. And Jen's like, no, he's making fun of it. I mean, he's being dumb as like, you're my money launderer. And Emily's like, but he has a criminal enterprise going on. I mean, even in The Godfather, they joked about the illegal activities they were doing, right? And Emily's like, and he says, this is my money laundering partner. And Jen's like, but the money is not Ryan's. And Emily goes, I know that. So yeah, the money was never Ryan's. They were just funneling it through his account. So that's not even what Emily's saying. So Jen's like, no, he didn't use that money. It's like, yeah, but he was involved in it, right? Emily's like, I understand that. And Andy's like, the point is that he's been given immunity. So though he's been mentioned in this case, Daddy Cohen right here, he is not being charged with anything. And Jen goes, Andy, he's not being charged with anything. And Shannon's like, Emily, if she's saying that the only part that Ryan had in it is that his name was on the account, and Emily goes, but that's opposite of everything I've read. And Jen's like, then I'm sorry. I mean, I've read your in-laws fund your whole life. Hey, oh, whoa, left hook out of nowhere. Andy turns to Emily like, ooh. And Emily for a second is like quiet. And it just silence. And I wonder the reality of this because they could be editing it in a hinky way, as Heather Dubrow said. But Emily Simpson went on, I think, to refute this. Trying to find this to pull up. She immediately talked about this on one of her social media posts. Emily, and this is from a 2019 article. Emily Simpson admits husband's parents bankroll their lifestyle, right? And Emily put a picture up of Jenn Pedranti's photo, and it says sipping scissor in my ride, like a 3-6, and like posting this kind of like baller Instagram post. And Emily reposted this or screenshotted it and wrote, if my in-laws, quote, funded our lifestyle, I'd be living way larger than I am right now. I'd be on private jets with Heather Dubrow. They do not. So that's Emily Simpson refuting what Jenn Pedranti says, right? Emily says, look, at the end of the day, I would just have more respect for you and Ryan if you just said to me, you know what? He's made some bad choices, but he's going to be on the straight and narrow. And Jen goes, I don't owe you that because he hasn't. If he did, I'm pretty sure. And Emily goes, how has he not? I'm an attorney. And Emily goes, does he have a mortgage license anymore? And Jen goes, why? Like you love to do this. I don't ask you. And Emily goes, no, I just feel like, and Jen's like, I don't ask you how many cases Shane has. And Emily goes, I just feel like you always do this. And Jen goes, I don't always do anything. Yes, you do, Emily says. Jen's like, I showed up. And Emily's like, you always do this Tammy, why not thing where you stand by your man. You got to stand by your man. And sometimes you just need to be accountable and say, you know what? And Jen goes, I am very accountable. And Emily goes, you made some bad choices. And Jen goes, I'm very accountable. And that's where we leave it. Whoa. Part 1 ending brutally. Oh, the Empire strikes back. Whoa. Emily was very involved. So Emily, not a lot of storylines herself this season. We had the body image stuff, which I'm not making light of at all. That's a very real personal storyline. But Emily really getting involved with other people's storyline as an interpreter, like Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, to really go after people on their choices. Now, Emily, specifically for Jenn Pedranti, does seem to have a bone up her butt about, is that even a thing, a bone up her butt? Anyways, all season long, really focused on the way Jenn lives her life. And all of a sudden we see Andy Cohen going, next week on part 2 of the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. And Andy saying, did you have any idea your trip to London would involve an enema? And Shannon laughing. And Kitty says, I'm here to help. And then Jenn Pedranti asking Tamra, where did Eddie sleep that night? And Tamra says, in my bed. And Jen goes, not what I heard. Oh, Jen, boom, bam. And Tamra's like, what? And then we have Katie saying, if you're going up and looking at the price tag, that is mean girl behavior. And Tamara's like, no, it wasn't. I don't know what that's regard. Oh, that was probably Jenn Pedranti's dress, the Versace dress. And then Gina in a scene going, there have been incidents and my kids are scared. And then Heather saying, your daughter said we're fake ass bitches who suck dick. And that's probably about Katie's daughter, Kylie. And listen, from the mouth of babes, right? And Shannon like holding her cheeks like, oh. And Emily says, it could have done damage to my relationship with Heather. Oh, no. And then we have Lexi saying, I'm not going to apologize for defending my man. He was still going to sue you, Shannon. And Shannon goes, and I ended up winning, asshole. So my prediction is we get Fun Lexi halfway through second episode. What do we think, guys? What a supersized extended episode. I needed to go a little longer just to get out the bugaboos in my head. And hopefully you enjoyed this somewhat, or at least you can have it on in the background just to have something going, right? To remind us that we are all connected, that at the end of the day, we are all here on this same spinning ball, if you believe that the earth is round. And we're gonna get through all. We're doing it, man. We're gonna keep on chugging along, laughing, loving, live, laugh, loving, as Sheena Shea would say. Join us on Monday for an all new pop culture roundup, and I'll do a Patreon tomorrow if you need more content. At this point, you don't need any more content from me, but I'm just gonna do it for myself. You guys have the best rest of your weekend ever. You know, be with your family, your friends, your loved ones, your TV shows, your books, your wine, your water, your good food, your bad food. It's all right, man. On Monday, we pick back up, we get back at it. And that's it, folks. Signing off for Real Housewives of Orange County, season 18, reunion part 1. This is Ryan Bailey saying, I love you, Hinky.